Friday night. I got my big coffee. I got my news stories. I got my video games. I got my RGB turned on. That means it's time for the RageSelect podcast. It's time for RageSelect podcast. It's RageSelect podcast.
Select it. have you considered the slogan? Selected.
RageSelect. Selected.
Selected. Yeah.
It's funny. I don't like to come up with official stuff because I like people to just do whatever they want. I don't want to rope people in to an official slogan. They're like, really? RageSelect. It's got cheese on it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's.
That's a little pointed, yeah. But I think about like marbles. We have a soft slogan of you got to play to win. Mm-hmm. But it's not like that's not on the bumper sticker or anything. So
do people still use bumper stickers?
I think so. I haven't seen one in a long time. I don't want any of them.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I made bumper stickers for something a while ago, and I thought, I'll just make them at whatever the biggest size. I'm sure they all just, and it was fucking huge. Mm-hmm. It was gigantic. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, and it was so big I didn't want to put it in my car.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we got a lot of news this week. A lot of news, as is our want. But before we do that, I got a couple things I want to throw out there real fast. I want to make the case to all the people about a game. But before I do that, I also watched an anime movie last week that I want to talk about because the Crunchyrolls put a bunch of anime movies on the site. They dumped like 3 of them like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then they dumped like another 2 or 3 like 2 weeks ago or last week or whatever. And
I presume that this is their normal behavior, Crunchyroll, of putting on content on the service. Are they big movies?
Well, one of them was I didn't even realize it was a thing. It was That Time I Died and Got Reincarnated as a Slime movie, which is a show that I really like. It's an isekai and it's stupid. But last week they put on this. I hadn't heard that this was even a thing. Actually, I think I might have heard briefly. It's a Gundam movie called Kukuru's Done's Island. And what's weird about it is that in the original Gundam, like the OG 1970s, early 80s like series, there was an episode 15 was called Kukuru's Done's Island, and it went through like all this development hell to the point where like the director was so dissatisfied that it started getting like removed. Like when they put it on, if you go to Crunchyroll and you look at Gundam, you'll find that like it skips.
That one's missing.
Yeah. And so 2 years ago, they announced that they were basically taking that one episode and then blowing it up into a feature-length movie, a 2-hour movie, and then like redoing all the animation and everything, and they put it up there. And it was really, really good.
Nice.
I don't know that if you don't already know like White Base and Amuro Ray and like Gundams and it might be a little hard to follow if you're not already familiar with some of the Gundam stuff. But what was really interesting,
it's war. They're all war stories, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's a war. It's a Star War.
It's fine. You could probably watch it. You just have to don't be aware that they're not going to explain everything. There's going to be a bunch of robots walking around, and you're going to have to just take that at face value. But what was interesting though was that I went back and I watched I found the original, somebody uploaded it to YouTube. It was like a rip from like a Cartoon Network showing, like it had 90s commercials in it. And so I kind of like skipped through it and skimmed it. And I was like, oh, this is the same story. It's just they blew it up. They added in a few more characters. They gave some more characters backgrounds. They kind of stretched out story beats so that it wasn't just like that 20-minute bang, 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 like you're just going through thing to thing to thing to thing. But yeah, if you got Crunchyroll and you're a fan of Gundam, I think it's well worth watching. I've really enjoyed like what they had, the Hathaway's Flash on Netflix last year. Like they keep putting out UC Gundam content and I keep watching it and liking it. So
I mean, that's good. That sounds like good news, Jeff. That
yes.
sounds better than the trepidation that you're attaching to this.
No, it was very good.
I'm waiting for the part where it mugged you.
No, it was very good. It was well worth watching. Everybody should watch it. Yeah, everybody should watch. Everybody should watch all of Gundam, like that new Witch from Mercury show. That's really good, where they're like tried super duper hard to get out of the like, here's 16-year-old boys fighting in like space Vietnam stories. And so Witch from Mercury is just like, hey, what if lesbian high school Gundams was a thing, where like the main character wins a duel and is immediately engaged to the prettiest girl in school, and everybody's like, what? So anyway, but the other thing we were talking about before we started, I don't want to steamroll too hard here. I was trying to make the case, and I want to make. I've made it before. Last year there was a game that came out called The Case of the Golden Idol, and then there was a DLC called The Spider of Lanka that came out this week for it. And I was surprised, Bryce, that you hadn't heard of this before.
Yeah,
because it really went under the radar, and then Lucas Pope talked about it on his Twitter and said like, holy shit, this is amazing, everybody needs to check it out. And I started hearing about it on like the Triple Click podcast with Jason Schreier and Meta Myers, Kirk Hamilton. And the thing is that when you look at like when you look at the game on Steam, it looks really weird. Like it's kind of off-putting. Like the art is kind of ugly for it.
Sure. Okay.
But it's this really interesting game where you basically like you have these little tableaus that come up. Where actually, I should just open up my never mind. I was gonna say I should open my own video that I posted today for this, but these little tableaus that come up, and then it's like one little second of action, and then you have to like look through people's pockets, and you have to read notes, and you have to like, and as you do that,
it's a murder mystery.
Yeah, as you do that, every tableau is like a murder that happened, and so you have to then go through, and as you click on like people's notes, you'll get names, you'll get places, you'll get verbs and nouns, and then eventually you basically get this like this big screen where you have to start filling that stuff in, and you have to fill in like, this person got into this person's room and then they did this and this and this. And the one thing that I really like about it is that it's once you only have two wrong answers in one of the like Mad Libs, basically it'll say two or fewer answers are wrong, and a lot of times you can then use that to kind of like brute force what the answer is, because you can like intentionally make a third answer wrong and then start putting everything into like what you think might be the wrong slot until it goes ding, and then it's like, oh, two or more are right. So but what's interesting about it is that it tells a really cool story, and you really get to know all the characters. And I haven't played a mystery game like this before, where like you have to figure it out, but it's not a puzzle game. Like a lot of times games like this are like, you have to pick the right answer, and there's no like downfall. There's no fault for picking the wrong answer. You just don't solve it, right? So you can kind of keep messing with the same scene. There's no like time tax. There's no game over. It's like you just have to sit there and kind of look at it. And
it's kind of like Oberdin, though I guess Oberdin has like success moments, but it seems similar to that, right? Like you have to get to an ending, but you have to piece it together yourself.
Yeah, but it's a lot. I think it's a lot better balanced than Oberdin, because since it's the individual tableaus are a bit smaller. Like with Oberdin, right, you're trying to fill in the entire like crew list a little bit at a time. And I know if you get like three of them, then Oberdin will do it. But in this one, it's like, because I maybe the other thing to talk about is the fact that like when you get to one of these screens, let me see if I can find a picture of one. When you get to these screens where you've got to like start putting in names and stuff, there a lot of them are divided into multiple sections, and so you can like finish one section that'll then give you clues that you can then add to like another section. So even the solution comes in a little bit at a time, in a way where you can be like, okay, well, this solution seems like I can probably figure this out. And then once you do that, like getting a confirmation that like this is this and this is this, then gives you more information that you can add to other stuff. Anyway, the only problem is that I think it's only on Steam right now, and Mac OS. It might be on Switch. But yeah, I highly recommend. Highly recommend. So that's all.
Case of the Golden Idol. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? You said you've been playing an adventure game yourself, or a mystery game.
Yeah. No, I just finished up Paradise Killer. That they got added that to the PlayStation Game Pass thing, and man, that is a really cool game. As a fan of murder mysteries, like it looks exactly like Danganronpa. Like if you look at a trailer or an actual video clip, it's got the 3D environment with 2D character portraits, sort of aesthetic, but it takes I think they call it an open world murder mystery game, because you are partly exploring the world that you're in to find clues and find alibis, break alibis, and investigate or interrogate different people on the island. But what's fascinating is it tells you right at the beginning, hey, you are in charge of the case. Go and find the truth. Come back here whenever you want to start. Whenever you're ready for court, you come back here and we'll do it. And they even tell you when you do that, like, hey, this is a point of no return, but you can do it at any point. You can do it right away. You can wait and find every little bit and bob. And then it just unfolds. You know, you just present, as you're exploring the island, you're doing it because you're putting together different threads. You're following different clues. The game's kind of letting you know what the questions you're trying to answer are. And then when it's time for court, it says like, hey, okay, this is the thing. We found this and we found this, and as you do that, the game connects the dots for you. And I think that's really interesting, because a lot of these games, especially ones that kind of, again, have this look, tend to be very, very on rails. You've got to find all of the things before you can open up the door to go into the next. It's very linear with how, despite being very open in terms of the questions it asks you. Where this feels completely loose. Like they don't even it takes a lot of context clues. They don't give you too much at the beginning to say like, this is the way of the reality that you're entering in. This is the history of of who the people are on the island, the superpowers that they have and why they have it, what they're doing. All of that is just kind of left up to you to find, whether that is through exploring the story or finding collectibles or talking to people. It's
sounds really Danganronpa.
It really blew me away.
Sounds really, really Danganronpa.
But it's not on rails.
Okay.
I guess like there is a progression, I guess. But like when at the point where I finished the game, I said, okay, I think I got everything that I'm needing to do. I'm running out of exclamation marks on the map. I don't want to do a bunch of collectible stuff for the rest of the game. Let's pinch it off. And I realized, I found out after I was done looking up more information, there was a whole extra storyline that I missed. I looked the wrong way, didn't talk to enough people, didn't close up enough loose ends, and these two characters didn't even they kind of flew on by scot-free. I didn't know about them. They didn't bring it up. And that felt really neat that I could completely finish the game. And there are other things you can do alongside all that, but it looks and sounds Danganronpa, but it is very, very different.
Okay.
It's really different. I think that's really special.
I think we actually went to play this at one point, but the thing is that I'm not super good with like visual novel stuff, because paying attention is not RageSelect's like particular specialized forte, and this seemed like something that you have to pay attention to and that you've got to read.
I'll say there is a good amount of reading, and but it does a job. It also does a good job of kind of organizing what you've learned and what you know.
Okay.
And including the questions you're meant to be asking. You have a whole screen that is like, it's not. Your objectives are questions. You know, like how did this person get from point A to point B, or how? What did this person know? Like it organizes that all in a really interesting, open, accessible way, I guess.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of logic to it, but I think you don't have to hold all of that in your head the whole time.
Fair enough. I don't know. Maybe we'll get a chance to check it out one day. But with that, let's go ahead and get to the news. We're going to start this week. I decided instead of just jumping directly into Microsoft did a thing, that we would start with something fun. Because Modus Games this week announced Double Dragon Gaiden Rise of the Dragons, which is a new Double Dragon beat-em-up game. It's cool that between Way Forward and Modus and some of these other guys, that we're really living in a time where you can get some good beat-em-up games. And it's interesting because they've got Billy and Jimmy Lee, and they've kind of got this. They kind of look like River City Ransom, except they're a little bit more stretched out. But they've kind of got that. Double Dragon. They had like real small feet, right? It kind of reminds me where they've got like a real elongated upper part. They're like walking trapezoids.
Sure. They're action figure-y.
Yeah.
They're like action figures.
But what's interesting about this is that you got Billy and Jimmy Lee. You've also got Marion, which I was a little bummed out about because Marion is here and she's got a crap load of guns. Marion, of course, being the lady that gets punched in the stomach at the beginning of Double Dragon. The only reason I say I'm disappointed was because River City Girls 2 came out and it added Marion as a character, and she was like, they turned her into a big muscle mommy because she was like, they kidnapped me and I just did sit-ups until I got strong enough to like break through the wall, and now I'm out there kicking butt in the streets. But I don't know. I'm not about to like do a 40-minute video on the internet where I complain about and then the last character is
sexualized man.
Yeah, is Uncle Mateen, and I don't know who this guy is. He's got like a riot shield, and he seems like he's like a military guy. But yeah, apparently this is also going to be like a roguelike that's going to randomize kind of the stages a little bit and the enemies. You're gonna get like upgrades. Yeah, it's all sorts of crazy. I mean, when you think about it, there's no real reason why, if you didn't make like a good number of stages, that you couldn't randomize the enemies in like a beat 'em up game. I don't think I've actually seen that before, though, right? Like,
yeah. Or why? Or what? To what end is that progression, right? Like, if we're not building up to, the 5 bosses at the end of the 5 chapters, like. What the hell are we doing? Is this a looter now? Is this a looter Double Dragon?
If I had to make
a live service game, like what the fuck are we talking about?
If I had to make a guess, I'd say that when there's a screen in the trailer that says "Free Our City" and it's got these 4 bosses to it, I'd be willing to bet that it's one of those ones that's just like, if you die, you've got to start over, and the goal is to like get enough continuous, to get enough. You spend money on power-ups that will then carry over until you're powerful enough to be able to whoop ass through all 4 stages. Or I don't know, maybe it's like Hades style, where you just got to get good. You got to get good RNG rolls on all of your power-ups, because they do also show a screen where they have like, that's the mission select screen, but they have another one where they're showing kind of like purchasing upgrades.
Oh, upgrades. Okay, I guess that is kind of arcadey. I was the idea of like procedurally doing this at the same time just didn't make sense with what I'm looking at here. But that seems like another one of the. Is there a lot of these, Jeff? Are you hungry for more
beat 'em ups?
These, River City Ransoms? Yeah.
Yes, I love them. I love Streets of Rage 4. I played that several times through. Shredder's Revenge, I played that through a whole bunch of times. Like, the thing is that a lot of times I actually really like the idea of the roguelike thing, because one of the biggest problems with some of the modern things is that like this style of game was built to eat quarters, right? Final Fight, Double Dragon, it was built so that like you're going to die and then you're going to put in another quarter, you're going to keep going, you're going to put in another quarter. And so
the original roguelite games.
right. Having it be a thing where you can, I think that this roguelite style, like maybe not necessarily like full randomization of like the levels, but the idea that you're going to make a kind of, there was a Contra game for the Xbox 360 that was like this, where it was like, you just play Contra. The levels were static, but you would just play as far as you could, and then when you died, you would take all the currency that you had built up and you would buy more upgrades. And so it's a really satisfying sense of progression in this kind of game where you can basically just be like getting more and more power. The Streets of Rage 4 did the same thing, where you would have upgrades. I think it was that one that would kind of go across runs, and so the further you got before you ran out of lives, the more powerful you could get for your next run. And then but then they also always have like a classic mode where it's just like, here's 2 lives, beat the game, I guess. Like
yeah, because in my head that is what most of these beat 'em ups are, an arcade style progression of these. I don't know. I mean, good on them if this looks good and you're not overplayed with these.
I think it looks really good. I mean, I also I think that whoever's doing, I'm a real snob for pixel art, and I think that this pixel art looks good. I'm glad that they're not using that like puppet rotation style thing where they make something out of pixels, but then they just rotate those pixels in order to do the animation. Like they've got some really nice little like beat 'em up things. It looks like they got a lot of different enemies. Also, this is the kind of game I think is great because it is built for DLC characters, right? For like, here's 2 more characters and 2 more stages. And the last Double Dragon that we got was Neon. Like, it's been that long since there was a Double Dragon game out there. We've got River City Ransom spinoffs. We've got Final Fight spinoff, or not. We got the Streets of Rage spinoffs and stuff like that. But it's been a while since there's been a Double Dragon, and I'm glad that it's there. So yeah,
cool.
No specific release date, just sometime I think this year. So.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That seems like a nice one.
Okay, everybody's got the good feelings. It's time for bad feelings. Well, it's time. Okay, I tell you what. That was just the just going up to the top of the roller coaster, and now we're just going to go up and down and up and down and up and down. We got good stories.
We wrapped that up and made me think that. Oh, that's a good appetizer.
What a great week. Oh, no. Okay, we're starting off with Microsoft and Xbox because Redfall came out this week, and it was generally regarded as kind of like fart noise. I played. Did you check out Redfall at all?
I have not. I was kind of waiting to see what it was or when anyone would review it. Apparently, they had a launch day embargo on reviews. Mm-hmm. So, that's always a good sign of how good a thing is going to be. Yeah.
So I think that I played it and I didn't really care for it. And that was beyond just like the graphical fidelity. It seemed like the stuff that Arcane normally does really well, the kind of the vent crawling and having different options to get into a situation, had all been stripped out. And so what you were left with was like, what if Arcane just gave you like medium grade combat that was it was okay, but not like great. And it's like, well, if Dishonored had just been like linear levels where you just had to go through and fight guys with your Dishonored powers, it wouldn't have been as interesting, right? It would have been like,
sure,
who cares? Or this is fine, but like I'm not exactly clamoring for a second one and a bunch of DLC. Anyway, the big thing here is that Phil Spencer had an interview this week where he talked about all this stuff, and there's a lot of weirdness. Did you look at this interview at all?
I did. I read all of these quotes and I listened to a lot of the video version of it. Boy, the video version of it is just kind of feels very very press releasey almost. Good on those guys for having him on, but definitely felt just like, hey Phil, would you like to speak for 20 minutes?
Well, it seems like it seems like it seems like Phil is walking a very tight rope in this interview, right? He wants to acknowledge that this was kind of a disaster, but he also doesn't want to throw Xbox, Arcane, or like the developers under the bus. But he's also not like taking personal responsibility, because it's not like Phil Spencer went down there and like told them to put out a busted game. At least not that I know of.
Well, no, I think he shoulders a lot of responsibility in some of these quotes.
Mm-hmm.
At least explicitly to certain problems, at least. But I think he does. I think the very interesting thing he talks about is the idea of like, should they have just delayed it because there's a lot of technical issues that people are having.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a interesting kind of corporate response. Had you seen that part of that, Jeff?
Yeah, he basically, I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I read this a little bit earlier today, so it's not like directly in my brain, but from what I remember, his basic thing was like, it depends on why you're delaying a game. Like, if you're looking at the game and the game is doing what it says it's supposed to do on the design docs, then delaying it isn't going to make a difference, because you're not going to like, okay, so if the game,
it's still that game.
Yeah, right. If you thought that this was going to be Prey with vampires, but there's not like interesting traps you can set up or alternate methods or like stealth options or like, oh, I'm going to hack the turrets or whatever to do this thing. If all that Arcane stuff that people wanted when they saw that this was an Arcane game wasn't going to be in the game in the first place, then delaying it doesn't make any sense, because you can't add that this far into the game. You cannot add those features back in. Those have to be baked into every design decision early on in the process. So while you could have probably delayed to get 60 frames per second on the Xbox Series X, or I personally think that like there's a lot of just like bugginess. Like, I saw a lot of ice skating characters that weren't doing walk cycles, or vampires that wouldn't die because they didn't trigger the right stun thing that you can do the stake with. But I do kind of take that as an interesting philosophical thing, right? I think we've gotten into the habit post Cyberpunk 2077 of just being like, oh, this game was bad, it should have been delayed so that it could have been made good. But the question is like, well, were there a bunch of features that could have been completed during a delay, or were you just going to get a much more polished version of what was released at the time? Yeah. You know, less buggy, higher frame rate, maybe more fidelity, things like that. Yeah. So,
and I think it's interesting because it feels partly accepting that at the end of the day, no one is getting their money back. But also I think it tries to maybe weaponize a little bit a harsh reality of game publishing and game developing is, and he mentions it, sometimes you publish 80s and sometimes you publish 60s. Mm-hmm. And you have to be okay with that. And they got a pop fly on this one. Like, it's not it's interesting. It's interesting him saying that, like, it's not exactly like there were creative decisions that the team didn't get to make.
He also describes kind of an interesting scenario where he talks about how, like, when they acquired Arcane through Bethesda, that like the game was in development and they were very like, well, do you guys have it? And Arcane was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, well, we're not gonna, keep going. Like, go ahead. If you need anything, let us know. And that, that's a really strange question, because I think holding Microsoft responsible for Arcane's bad game is a weird thing, just because they're both, Microsoft is a large corporation. Even if you're talking about Xbox division, they don't make games directly. They've got studios that make games. So you think, like, part of what he's talked about in here was like, we might have been able to do something if we had sent some of our people to Arcane to help with early development, with support and stuff like that. But then, like, that's a really easy thing to say in hindsight, but like, that gives me the the creepy shivers to the idea that the publisher is going to like send in the goon squad to like start telling the developer that they purchased for a specific reason how to make the game that they decided they wanted to make. I mean, it just so happens that like Arcane has a really good track record at this point, and so this is weird to see them stumble because most of their previous stuff has been of a higher quality than Redfall. But then the idea that's like Microsoft should have gone in and changed it, or should have done something, should have intervened on behalf of gamers. I don't know.
I think from Microsoft, I think it would have behooved them in the project probably to have intervened, at least in the ways that he outlines, with perfect foresight or hindsight at the moment.
Right.
But he talks about using outside consultants and internal reviews and the idea that there were multiple people looking at this game. This is a big game from one of their big studios with a lot of big names on it, and that there's a line where if you got it kind of has to end, right? These are ultimately Xbox Studio games being published, and I think it is important. It probably would have made sense to have more. I don't know. I guess I don't know the specifics of it, but you think of the way that these games are usually structured. The idea of having different checkpoints of development,
like milestones.
Right. It seems like for a game that had not even been announced when this merger happened, to say that went through some sort of process without more involvement or oversight, that's I don't know about that. I think there's a case for them to have intervened a little more without Phil Spencer going in and hacking and slashing.
Right.
I think there was a middle ground to that.
There is an interesting. They also talked. One of the other interesting things that I thought was, I don't know. It's another one of those like, is this both a good thing or a bad thing? Is the idea that all of the preview footage that was done early was all done at 60 frames per second when they knew that they were not going to be able to hit that target on the Series X, and how it's like. He talks about how like they want to make sure that they're being transparent about like what platform the game is running on moving forward or to do stuff. And I don't know if I totally agree with that, because it just means that every single Xbox video has a thing in the corner that says captured on a PC, captured on a PC, captured on a PC. Like, I think that the thing is that marketing departments never want to show you, they don't want to make a splashy promo video that's running at an inconsistent 30 frames per second. So I guess I just wonder whether like, whether we would have been satisfied if all of the preview stuff had said it was being captured on a PC, as opposed to the hardware that a good majority of Xbox owners have that we're going to be playing this game on. I don't know.
I mean, but the question, my question here is 30 frames per second acceptable, right? Is it acceptable here? Because ultimately that moment, right, the idea of like showing off footage of a game clearly in 60 frames per second, knowing that was PC footage and not console footage, in a context where that might have been important for this, all of this public footage, I think that he's fessing up that he misled people. How important is that? I mean, is showing footage that is 30 frames per second better, or is that a sign that the game is not ready and not to a standard that people, right? Like is 60 frames? I mean, they're fixing the game to have this. If the trailer was honest, would that have been material? I don't know. What is the current? no, what's the crime, but like, how bad is this?
I don't
How
know.
bad is that specific thing?
I was kind of, I mean, I've been kind of going through this also with that new Star Wars game, the Jedi Survivor, where it's like, even post patch, I can't get it to run at a solid 60 frames per second on the PlayStation, and the PC version is just completely borked up. I mean, I only have a 3060 Ti, right? I'm not rocking 40 series NVIDIA cards, but like, I can't get that game to run at a solid, consistent 60 frames per second. And the thing is that what I've kind of come to is that I've spent a lot of money on consoles, new consoles and video games, and I've got an HD TV and it runs at 4K at 60 frames per second, and I've seen plenty of games that can run that. And the thing is that it would be one thing if the graphical fidelity of Redfall and Jedi Survivor was so high that it was like, oh, I can see we're in the transition to, a kind of ray tracing thing. But like, man, at this point, if I turn ray tracing off, these games do not look good enough to be stuttering around at sub 60 for me. Like, I just, I'm more than willing to turn off ray tracing. I don't need it to run at 4K, but what I need is a solid ass frame rate. And I don't care about, I've gotten to the point now where I don't care about graphical fidelity or ray tracing as much as I care about a solid frame rate, because with this new generation, most of the games that I play on my PC and on my consoles are running at 60 frames per second. And so now, once you get used to that, it gets really hard to go back.
I think this highlights the importance of how about the tiny little text on screen saying what is rendered on PC using an engine or rendered on console in it becomes more important. Especially Microsoft. Like, I watch a lot of these fucking keynotes, and Microsoft does a lot of bullshotting. Like, they don't spend a lot of time showing gameplay. They show a lot of time of trailers and cinematics and stuff. And even that, I mean, that is an even bigger version of this, right? Of selling you on a game of a part that is pre-rendered or a very specific slice of it that is not representative of what it looks like later on. It's all a problem. It's a function of this larger thing where they need to be clear about what people are going to get, what hardware is necessary, and what we're settling for, right? Are people supposed to settle for 30 here, or are you going to fix it and change that target? That I don't know if you got the exact answer out of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. To me, it seems like we got to move off this because, oh my god, this is the first story. Oh my god, it's all right, but for me, it seems like, okay, I can't speak specifically to Redfall, but I looked at what was it, Digital Foundry's video on the PC version of Jedi Survivor, and they had like a graph that was showing video card usage and like CPU usage and memory usage through a 14 core processor, and they were showing how it ran on the PC, and what they showed was that the video card was running at like 30%, and then like two of the cores of like the entire multi-core processing thread we're doing everything. We're like at 60% and 70% respectively. And it's like, I get the feeling a lot of times, because again, none of the fidelity of the graphics here seems to indicate, like, I played games that look this good that run better than these games do. And so I think that there's just like an optimization phase that is not being completed before these things are getting rushed out, because they're testing this stuff on high-end PCs, and like, does it boot up and run on the console? Yeah, but like, I don't think it's being prioritized, because I think we've come to a place where the gaming public will accept that these things will launch in a subpar way and then get fixed as time goes on. And
does this get better if this is launched like Grounded did
in early access?
Like as a public early accessy kind of thing, and then at some point that game kind of launched.
Yes, 100%. I mean, and the thing is that for Redfall, I did some diligence. I loaded up Deathloop and Wolfenstein Youngblood, which were the last 2 games that they made before this. Both of those games run crazy good, and they ran crazy good out of the box, and I know that because I played both of them day one. So it's just like, I think we've hit this weird thing where developers are able to push stuff out before it's done. And I think that I might have had a better time with Redfall if it had just launched, like, regardless of the problems with the actual gameplay loop, if it had just launched in a way where it looked and played really smoothly, then that wouldn't have been like another pebble in my shoe when trying to evaluate it. But I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, it's a question of like expectations versus like the reality of executing on that, right? Like, this all probably looks better if the word beta is overlaid on every frame of it, because you could say, well, yeah, hey, we're going to take your feedback and work on it. Like, I kind of think it would be interesting. It would be interesting if more people kind of had. It would be interesting to have a AAA game where people said, like, hey, we are going to take your feedback. We have a buildable 90% there thing, but hey, like, actually give us meaningful input, assuming meaningful input can even be found out of something like that. But, you know, either that I think is like the next phase of an early access or something like this, which this game being like an online co-op game is some sort of live servicey thing, right? Is there a live service element? I figured there probably is. And so, like, I can be sold that an online game should evolve and grow with player input. It certainly feels better than players having to bark and not get actual creative fixes. Gran Turismo. You know, so what do we want, right? Do we want more early access or less? What do you?
I opt for the, like, I don't, where I've come down to at the end of the day for all this stuff, right, is there was what's the quote that Miyamoto had that one time where, like, you know, a delayed game, you know, basically, I will wait any amount of time for you to make your game good. I want your game to come out of the box and run like a dream, because then I will play it. Because if I put it to the side and I have to wait for you to fix it and I don't play it, then you end up with I might never play it. Like, you know, by the time they fix the performance for Redfall in a way that I feel like I want to go and try it again, it may be too late. I may be on to Tears of the Kingdom, then I'm going to be playing that. And then the next thing comes after that, and I'm never going to have a good excuse to go back and try this game out, because it's just not because there's too many things. There's too many things to play. I don't have time for this mediocre nonsense that you're expecting me to put up with, as opposed to, you know, not you, Bryce. Yeah. I know you're you're not like the representative of the game industry over here.
No, right. And I think this goes back to the Spencer bit of like, hey, at some point this game we got to get it out. It is going to be at the state it is. You know, almost any project can get better with enough time, with enough money. But this is not a passion project. This is not your flower bed. This is a probably multi-million-dollar video game from a lead gaming studio and developer and publisher. The alternative is these games maybe never is never coming out, because what we're being told is it has to come out so that we can make a better second game.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't. I don't necessarily agree with that.
That's not.
Right. I just think that there's like a baseline of quality that has slipped a little bit, right? Because you can rely, because I think that the gaming industry has found that the gaming public will accept fixing a game post-launch, like literally shipping a substandard game and then fixing it later on.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyway,
if you play it right, they will praise you for many, many years on it.
True. All right, now we're gonna get going here. Woo! Speaking of Xbox, we did find out that we are going to be getting a Xbox Game Showcase on June 11th. This is 1 p.m. EST. It's going to have a bunch of different stuff. This is basically Microsoft's E3 press conference, even though there's no E3. So,
on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
yep.
We really don't have an E3 anymore.
Yep. Well, I mean, that was
going on a Sunday.
That's what they've been doing. No, they were doing Monday, but then Bethesda was doing Sunday, right? When they started their conferences, because Monday was a conference day.
Yeah.
Monday was all conferences.
But that's what I'm saying. Monday was the conference day.
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday used to be the conference day. Now it's a Sunday. Uh-oh.
Yep. Hopefully, I was reminded of all the stuff that Xbox has in development, which I'm a little bit like, oh, right. But I am interested in Machine Games' Indiana Jones game that they teased a long time ago. And I want to see more of what you guys to assuage my worries about Starfield, and I'd like to at least see a teaser for Outer Worlds 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anything in this lineup tickle your fancy, Bryce?
I would be interested to see what Forza Motorsport looks like and what they do with that game on PC. It's been a while since I've done one of the Forza Motorsport editions. It's been a lot of Horizon, and Horizon's cool, but I kind of want to see some Motorsport now.
All right. Well, we'll find out in June. Let's see. This had a bunch of stories for Xbox, and there was no good way to line them up where somebody wasn't going to get the transitions were never going to work. But Game Pass is offering a new program where if you have Game Pass, you can basically gift up to 5 14-day trials to friends. You can generate 14-day trials that you can give away to your friends. However, the trials are only for PC. They don't include the console version of Game Pass, but there's a lot of speculation that this is basically like timed to come with Redfall, since it's a 4-player co-op thing where you can give your buddies some free passes and they can come play with you, and then they're like, oh shit, this is the new Destiny, I better buy Game Pass. So
Yeah, better get patching. It had to come out, didn't it?
Yep,
it had to come out.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. In other Xbox news, Respawn. Wait a minute, this isn't Xbox news. I totally borked myself. This is EA news. All right, let's change gears for a second to EA news. You know what? This is some bullshit anyway, so it's fine.
Just edit it out.
No, I'm not. It's just it goes the way it goes. I got totally frazzled today and forgot that Respawn has nothing to do with Microsoft because it's right smack dab in the middle of this stuff. Anyway, Vince Zampella was talking to Barron's and talked about, and I hate this so much because they keep talking about Titanfall, but I don't think they're gonna make another Titanfall. They asked about Titanfall 3 and he came out and said, quote, I hate to say yes, then people latch onto that and then skewer you when it doesn't come, but I would love to see it happen is the real answer. And then, of course, he made a point of saying they're not working on anything currently, and there aren't exactly dedicated plans for that. The one part of this that I really, really hate, though, is talking about how they don't want to confuse Apex Legends players because Titanfall and Apex Legends happen in the same universe. They don't want Apex Legends players to get really confused when they announce a new Titanfall game and it's got all these hooks into the Apex universe. And I'm like, it's not the Apex universe, man. It's a Titanfall universe. I'm going to sit here, stand for Titanfall 2 till the end of time. Bah.
It's the gamer's dilemma, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
If Apex is good enough, then that means Respawn could generate enough buzz to make a Titanfall. But goodness, I mean, Apex is so popular, we can't possibly dedicate any time to anything other than Apex because it's a contender still in battle royale games. So, like, it's a catch-22 kind of.
Yeah, there's never going to make Titanfall. As long as Andrew Wilson is in charge of EA, they're going to make Star Wars games and they're going to keep their battle royale cash pump turned on. There's no amount of,
like, honestly,
sales.
They could just keep sprinkling this in front of you every few months.
Mm-hmm.
and remind people that, hey, you can spend money on Apex though.
Put it in the put it in the where does the box? I'm gonna pull out this box that's got labels on it that say Half-Life 3 and Fallout New Vegas 2, and I'm gonna take Titanfall 3 and I'm gonna put it in that box, and now I'm gonna put this box in the closet and I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. Someday I might need to get the box out and dust it back off and look inside, but
someday,
not today. Anyway, back to Xbox. Oh, God, I've made a mess of it all. This was a funny thing. So going back to Redfall, as you mentioned, there was an embargo on Redfall, and apparently Microsoft kind of went on a DMCA striking spree to take down any kind of early Redfall stuff that came out. And this is just mostly a funny thing because when that happened, the Redfall Twitter account's banner image got DMCA'd off of their Twitter. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Twitter is I love Twitter now. It's like the world's most expensive shit show, and it's all happening right in front of me. Last week I got logged out for a day and I couldn't log back in, and kept telling me somebody new logged in, and I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so, Mr. Musk.
Every day that website turns a little more into 4chan, doesn't it? It feels a little 4chan-y over there sometimes now.
What was that? This isn't a news. This isn't a gaming news story. What was that thing last week where Elon Musk told NPR that if they didn't start tweeting, he was going to give at NPR to another company? And it was like, dude, you can't do that. You better start tweeting, or else I'm going to give your name away. And it's like, wait, what?
Shaking you down, NPR.
So,
and all because he couldn't admit he got the meaning of state affiliated media wrong, or state funded media.
Oh, right.
It's only because he couldn't admit he got that wrong and made a fuck up.
Yep.
He has to play this dick measuring contest with National Public Radio for some reason.
So you guys heard it. I'm RageSelect's at NPR now. I'm going to be at NPR. I'm going to be confusing moms and dads.
National Public Rage Select.
National Public Rage Select. There we go. Woo! I have to start talking like Ira Glass, though. That's just going to be intolerable. So.
Yeah, try this next story in your NPR voice.
It's been so long since I've listened to NPR. I can't remember Ira Glass. I know he pauses.
News out of Hyrule this week as the Legend of Zelda.
Legend of
the Kingdom
of Zelda.
Yeah,
Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is on the file sharing websites. It got all leaked out up there. So I guess this is just to say, be careful. Bryce, I always hate it when things leak or there's story spoilers out there and people are just like, so, you might consider logging off for a few days. It's like, don't fucking patronize me. That's not an option. Just get off the internet in case Legend of Zelda spoilers are out there. Nah.
I think Reddit, maybe Twitter, but Reddit I could see as a place where you don't exactly control what you're seeing day to day. And there's moderation, but it's not instant. But yeah, changing and modifying your behaviors drastically because of spoilers being out there like that. That's people really like Zelda.
Yeah. Yep. Apparently, this is also though. These were physical copies, right? Somebody shipped.
Oh, really?
Copies? Yeah, because they've showed up on eBay for huge money.
Wow. When does this game come out? Is it out yet?
Next Friday. Next Friday, coming the 12th. This coming Friday. So,
huh.
But then the other part of this is that I'm sure this isn't the last we're going to hear about this, because as we have seen over the last couple of months, Nintendo just loves to track down anybody that made a mistake like this and then drag them into court for several $1 million if they can. So. I hope this wasn't a retailer. I hope this was somebody who stole something. But yeah.
Put that on the box. I hope someone stole this.
I hope someone stole this. So yeah.
I hope there's a truck upside down.
Be aware. Be aware. There's Zelda out there. This is funny too because the headline on this I put these stories all together about leaks and cracks and stuff like that. There's I saw the original headline for this news story that I looked at said Capcom warns that if you play the Street Fighter 6 demo after the demo time is over, you may not be able to go to like tournaments. You may be blacklisted from going to tournaments anymore. But when I drilled down into it, what I found was this. Apparently, crackers and leakers and Razor 911 or whatever, like the hacking community has found ways to take the trial version of Street Fighter 6 that came out and basically like unlock it to basically take the time restriction off and let people play whoever they want to. And this is a big deal because, you know, like if you're able to start practicing with Street Fighter 6 characters before the game is even out, you could have a leg up in official tournament settings because that shit costs money. Like you get money for tournaments. Not just that, but apparently
fucking stealing.
Apparently, there have been a lot of people streaming Street Fighter 6 cracked version, full characters. So, and then apparently some professional players came out and they were like, hey, Capcom, you really need to crack down on this shit because I'm going to come play in your tournament. I'm being a good boy. Please do something to these people.
Well, and if you don't, you'll never stop them.
Right.
If you don't, you'll never have any authority over them again.
Yep.
Like, the game's not fucking out. Hey, it's not that you get to train. The game's not fucking out yet.
Yep.
Just stop it. What the fuck? Like, come on. It's
so
it's because they're. I mean, are they playing online? They couldn't be playing on servers or anything.
I don't believe so. I think they're just playing. Yeah. I don't believe so. But in any case, Capcom put out an actual official release that says, it has come to our attention that some users have been accessing the Street Fighter 6 closed beta test software and playing the game outside of the designated period. This is a violation of the CBT terms of service and can be seen as violation of the Capcom Pro Tour Code of Conduct. For the avoidance of doubt, from this point forward, any player who is shown with clear evidence to be accessing CBT in an unauthorized way may be deemed ineligible for the upcoming Capcom Pro Tour and Street Fighter League seasons. We appreciate...
Well, yeah, because you fucking stole the software.
Well, not just that, but I mean,
I'm sorry, the game's not out yet.
But even if they bought it later on, it's like you can't... We want everybody to start from the same... We want people to have the same opportunities.
Because if you don't clamp down on this, then ultimately what this becomes is a really dangerous but very effective marketing tool.
Yeah.
Then suddenly, like anyone you incentivize people to stream and crack this more because they can get a day to be the guy, to be the first one to do the same thing for Street Fighter 6 Alpha Turbo or 7 or Tekken the next second or whatever. Like it's not a crime and punishment thing, but it's if we don't like this happening, then you have to really hit them where it hurts. And if they are fucking official Street Fighter tournament players, throw the entire book at them. That's their entire. That's what Capcom's interests are, at least.
You got to follow them rules. Let's see. We also got the news. Okay, so we already know that Mortal Kombat 12 is a thing. With the Warner Discovery. This was that whole thing where the Discovery guy bought Warner Brothers, and then it's like he's completely clueless Dorcas who doesn't know anything but like fucking 60-year-old sister reality show or whatever. Like they had like an earnings call where they just fucking put like NetherRealm game Q4 2023 like on the thing, and everybody was like, what? Because they didn't know anything. But we haven't seen anything yet until there was a thank you from NetherRealm for 30 years of Mortal Kombat. And it ended with a really brief teaser with this kind of sand coming down, and then it like kind of zooms in on this one grain of sand, and then that grain of sand explodes, and that is all. That is it. Though, as somebody who
Oh my god.
has played Mortal Kombat 11 and the expansion all the way through it, is a big fat Mortal Kombat fan. These are the sands in Chronica's Hourglass that control the multiverse of like the Earth realm and the Nether realm, and the Mom realm and the Cheese realm and all the realms. So, and at the end of Aftermath, either Liu Kang or Shang Tsung has control of the Hourglass that controls the multiverse of time in the Mortal Kombat universe. So look, it's the sand of the multiverse breaking apart.
Look, it's the sand. It's breaking apart.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey. The sand.
Anyway, yeah, I agree with
The
you.
guy's got 4 arms. Yeah. Okay. When is it coming? Do we know when it'll be out?
No,
It's not even announced yet. Huh?
no, it's probably going to get announced sometime in whatever we get instead of E3, right? So either at the Microsoft conference, I think that the Summer Games Fest with Mr. Keighley, or somewhere there's going to be an announcement, and we're going to finally find out. But yeah, I mean, it's about time. Mortal Kombat 11 was what, 3 years ago, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's just do it. Mortal Kombat 11, 2018. 2019.
2019. Okay.
2019. Yep.
So that's 4 years. Yeah. Did they do an Injustice in between? They
No.
do, like, Injustices and stuff.
No.
Or just not. Oh.
I'm mad about that because Injustice 2 was like my favorite game of all time, and I liked it better than Mortal Kombat, and I wanted another one. But they didn't.
Sorry, I itched his rash.
So, yeah, you know
Justice rash.
You know who's in Injustice 2? The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Why?
Because they did a bunch
Don't they rip people's heads off in this game?
No, this is Injustice. This is the PG-rated one. Mortal Kombat rips people's head off. Injustice is just like Superman doesn't tear people's heads off in Injustice 2.
He should.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well.
and they were great.
Cool.
This is like
Okay.
super good DLC for Injustice 2. They had the Ninja Turtles. They had a bunch of cool DC characters. Yep.
Well, what if they ripped Thrasher's head off? What if they ripped Krang's head off?
I mean, so
that's new. That's radical, dude.
they all had their own fatalities, but all of them involved doing really bad things with pizza. Yes. And
okay, so the Turtles.
speaking of the Turtles, we got a brand new Turtles game that was announced and released this week on Apple Arcade, of all things.
Oh yeah.
This is called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate, and it is another roguelike. It is a kind of a top-down, kind of Hades-ish like action game where you go through randomized stages looking for Splinter with the Turtles, and you play as like co-op. I got to figure out how this runs on my Apple TV. Because I like, they're like, it's like Hades with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm like, I mean, one of the big parts of Hades was like the story, which I assume that this doesn't have, but it still looks pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like,
It looks neat. I'll say the Apple Arcade stuff has generally been pretty good. The only thing I would say is like, one of the things that's on Apple Arcade is like a lot of intentionally for children games, and I'm seeing the Nickelodeon logo on there, and I've seen some of the stuff that Nickelodeon puts up on the Apple Arcade, and so maybe this is an easy version of Hades. Maybe this will actually be a version of Hades I can beat. But this looks neat. This was a part of like a bunch of Apple Arcade stuff, right?
yep. There was a couple of other things. I didn't look through all of them. The other one that I think I liked was What the Car. So we had What the Golf and What the Bat, I guess, was the VR one.
The bat.
Yeah, and then this is What the Car, and it looks sufficiently gooftastic where, for the most part, this car is like it's a car with legs, so the car is like running with its weird legs or like doing strange things, but
Yeah. Oh, that car is swimming.
I like
Oh, that car was parasailing. Oh my goodness.
I like this company. I like their goofy stuff. What's the other thing with it? What the car? TMNT.
The mobile version of what was that game? It's like there was a bunch of like ports and stuff. I was surprised to see get added. But there's also, they do a lot of like the plus versions of games. So like Temple Run, they remastered Temple Run for 4K, and that's a part of this. And you know what? Like you might kind of cock your head at that, but like, hey, Fruit Ninja's fucking really fun when you don't have to sit through any ads at all. Like it's just dopamine.
Yep.
It's only dopamine. So I think that's a really strong sell.
Oh yeah, Limbo, right? Limbo, and then
Octodad.
Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It, which I don't know how you
That was it.
play that on a phone, but
It's probably easier, right?
I don't think there's any part of Bennett Foddy games that are easy. I don't know what you can do to make them easy. I do really enjoy, like, I don't normally enjoy, I shouldn't say this, but I don't normally enjoy watching other people play video games, but I do enjoy watching people play Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, because that game is fucking berserk. I don't enjoy watching people play QWOP, but I do enjoy that because it's just so weird and so difficult. So well, you know what? I think with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break, because there's a bunch of new Steam stuff that we're going to talk about when we come back, and we're going to... I'm gonna have to cut about half of these news stories, or not. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows what's going to happen? You'll have to come back in just a second to find out. And we're back. Some more news. There's more news. The news does not stop here.
Never stops.
On the news on the National Public RageSelect Network. Let's get back. We've got Steam news, and this is actually like really big Steam news that I didn't realize was happening until this week. So Steam has added a big app, or a big beta update to their app that is changing mostly what the screen looks like when you go into like the overlay mode. Like they've cleaned up a lot of the kind of outdated overlay stuff to make the achievements menu and like screenshots and stuff a little bit more like streamlined. But the biggest new thing that I think is really kind of a game changer is the fact that you can like create notes in the Steam UI interface and then like pin them so that they stay over the game when you go back to the game. So you can like make notes, make lists. You can set up how much opacity they have. They have a cheeky example screenshot with Elden Ring where the notes are, oh no, how did I get here? Who's that blue girl? Why does she have 4 arms? Stop dying. Things like that. But yeah, it's funny.
That's cool. I'm surprised I never had that before.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like Steam has been updating. Like they updated the library a little while back, and they update like one thing at a time. But the biggest thing that I still have a problem with in Steam is the main store interface is just so cluttered and outmoded that I really wish that they would start with that, because it's always like this recommended, and there's this huge menu about like Steam gift cards and recommended and discovery queues, and then the next thing down is like another sponsored thing, and then there's special offers below that, and there's a Steam Deck below that, and then browse by category below that, your discovery queues below that, players like you love because you played, and then once you get down, you've got to scroll down like 2 pages to get to just like new games, and that's all I want to look at on the Steam store page is new games.
specifically this chart, the multi-tab chart that they have it kept pretty. I mean, the chart still looks the same.
The biggest thing with it was that like 5 years ago, they switched just like new and trending. So like if you want to look at like all new releases, you have to kind of click down a few levels, and that's fine with me because generally speaking, the stuff that gets to the top of this list has to be like have a lot of reviews or have a little bit of heat behind it, as opposed to just like every new match 3 hentai game that gets put out on Steam or asset flip garbage. So I just wish there was a way to move this up to the top, but I do like, this is a feature that is nice for the PC when you're sitting with a mouse and a keyboard, especially if you're doing games like the Case of the Golden Idol, right? You want to write down like stuff that you know. They've got an example with Dredge. So I think this is an improvement. I don't know. Do you do much Steam gaming, Bryce?
Not lately. I guess I do when I am playing on PC, but I've really become more of a console gamer the past year or two. I'm trying to get my money's worth out of this fucking PlayStation. What do you want?
Well, easier to do that than the Xbox. Do you think this would be a feature that you would use if you could like maybe control it with like a phone? Like I know there's no keyboard on or the keyboard on the PS5 is kind of like persnickety, right? But if you could just say like hit the button and then say add note and then pull out your phone and type in a note that would go over your game, do you think you would use that?
I think in general the console overlay idea could be expanded much more, right? Not just the idea of notes, but even other things that are in like the Steam OS, right? Whether it's you pulling up a web browser or searching up forums, right? There are some things now where you can pop like tip videos into the corner, but it's not like you can pop like Netflix into a corner or onto a side and actually multitask. So notes, I don't know about that specifically. I do like using the gyro keyboard, but it is kind of a weird one for a console. But give me more UI stuff. Like this is Steam extending their lead kind of in that part of their user interface stuff.
Okay. So along this same track, though, you'll never guess what the first thing that Steam users used this new notes feature for, Bryce.
Pornography.
Cheating at Counter-Strike.
How did they do that?
They took, so when you play Counter-Strike and you're using a sniper rifle, you don't have a reticle, so they literally would take a window, type an asterisk in it, set it to 50% opacity, and put it where the crosshair would be in order to make a makeshift crosshair for Counter-Strike.
You should have that's a motion sickness thing. You should have a reticle at all times. I mean, it's no different than just putting a little dot on your screen, which I'm sure those guys are doing.
Yeah,
too.
no, that was the thing is I was reading this article on PC Gamer about this, and I learned that there are apparently like monitor hacks that'll do that same thing, and also some people have just drawn a dot on their monitor where the crosshair would be, so you could do those sick no scopes. And I'm just like, okay, guys, okay, just. Let them do it though. Like, don't fuck it up for the rest of us.
Oh, yeah.
Don't take it away for the Counter-Strike goons. Like, let those goons.
Oh my gosh, when they
goon it up.
When they find a way to use this for fucking League of Legends or fucking Dota, or they find some sort of new hack using the Notes app.
Mm-hmm. That'd be great.
Oh my god, the first esports player who writes their apology in the Steam Notes app instead of the iPhone Notes app.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yes.
I can't wait.
Count on it. Bet on it. That's going to happen.
It's Bryce's predictions over here. But the crazy thing is, though, that this isn't the only crazy-ass Counter-Strike news that I have, although this other Counter-Strike news is crazy. It's also quite grim, but it's really weird and fascinating. So we all know there's like a war going on right now, and that in Russia, like you're not allowed to talk about that war. Like if you're a news outlet that talks about it in an anti-Russian, or some might say, you know, factual or truthful way, you will get banned, you will get arrested, you'll get kicked out. There's been a lot of news services that have left Russia. Apparently, a Finnish newspaper decided to attempt to rectify this by commissioning a Counter-Strike map that's like a full-on regular old Counter-Strike map that you can play on. But the thing is that when you die in that Counter-Strike map, you go to a specific room. You are shunted into a room, and this room has a whole shitload of news stories about the Russian invasion of Ukraine, with like maps and like photographs and like stories about people that have gotten killed in bombing raids and things like this. And apparently this is a big deal because CSGO is really popular in Russia. Apparently 4 million people play it. A lot of them are young men, and this is a really interesting way to like smuggle information in through a channel that like official, you know, news manipulation agencies wouldn't necessarily be looking at. Like, they wouldn't be reviewing every Counter-Strike map that gets put out, because why would you need to? Why would you be worried about a Counter-Strike map? But I think this is a really interesting, this is very interesting. Again, a little grim, but interesting.
Interesting, and also, well, you know, taking your argument, Jeff, they didn't used to have a reason to check video games.
Well, that's true.
They used to have a reason to check Steam and foreign. Yeah, like this is very interesting. I wonder how much exposure of this will lead to, much like when people openly talk about, you know, oh, I'm going to remake Zelda in the Unreal Engine, and they get cease and desisted by Nintendo because they were a fool and they talked out loud about it. I hope that the exposure to this does not hinder their efforts to educate the people of Russia about the war.
That is true. That is true. Though part of me says that, like, you know, if I don't know. I don't want to wander too far off the path and step on the butterflies here, but like the thing is that I sometimes wonder if it's like, okay, you do this and then the government cracks down on like, sorry, you can't play anything but state approved Counter-Strike maps, and now you've got 4 million Counter-Strike Go fans who can only play on like the state sponsored, you can only play DE Dust because we went over that with a fine-tooth comb. How that may also have knock-on effects of being like, this is bullshit, I want to play some other Counter-Strike maps, god damn it. But I don't know how that works. I'm not a sociologist or like a global operator or whatever, global offensive. I'm not globally offensive.
I'm not an operator. I'm the operator. Jeff, the operator.
Jeff, the operator operations. Yeah, but I thought it was a really interesting story. I never would have thought, you know, it's kind of an interesting way to disseminate information. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. In other first person, we got a bunch of first person shooter news. So one of the things that came out this week, and it's funny because the story itself is relatively vanilla, but there's an implication. It's about the implication, Bryce. So Kevin Durant is coming to Call of Duty. They're putting a Kevin Durant skin in Call of Duty. The question is, Kevin Durant in real life is 6'11", and the question is, do they make this Warzone skin 6'11", or do they shrink Kevin Durant to be in the same like silhouette as your normal Call of Duty player? Because if he's 11 inches taller than your normal Call of Duty model, that's going to make a serious problem of
performance dissonance.
Yeah. But on the other hand, are you going to be insulting Kevin Durant by making him shorter than he is in real life?
Wow. I mean, have they done this before with like do like because I assume it would be it would be general knowledge of like how much different skins do or do not affect the competitiveness of the game, right? Like people know this about Rocket League. Like there are just secret stats about all the different cars in Rocket League, or maybe they're not secret anymore. I haven't played that game in 10 years. But so is this a thing where they all end up standardizing, usually with other skins that they've done, or not? Because I guess I would guess it would be in line with whatever they've done before, in terms of having the same hitboxes and all.
Hard to say. I don't know because I don't keep that much track of. I mean, I only look at it when it's a silly story like this, right? Although I did like this Polygon story that had this one scenario that was even okay. So I was saying you got a 6'11" model, or you make Kevin Durant shorter so that he lines up with all the rest of them. This article posits a third scenario where you make a 6'11" Kevin Durant, but you take the top 11 inches off of his hitbox. So if you aim for a headshot, it literally like his head model is like where his neck is, where you would normally have it, and it's like that's even more confusing than the other two scenarios.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I'm interested. Okay. This is how you get me interested in Call of Duty, of figuring out what they're going to do with the 6'11" motherfucker.
Yes, this is how you get me both interested in Call of Duty and the NBA, because typically I don't care about either one of them. So, yeah. Let's see. We got a bunch of first-person shooter stuff. Bungie, I swear there was a similar. I might have been thinking about the Nintendo thing, but Bungie has been going through this lawsuit against these Romanian cheat selling stores that started back in 2021, and there was a lot of weird stuff where, like, if I remember correctly, I think that it's like. I don't know, it might have been a Blizzard one where they were suing them for like copyright infringement, where they were like using Destiny assets in their store, and then like the cheat makers filed a countersuit saying that they had been like snooping on their activities illegally or whatever. Anyway, this week Bungie got a $12 million settlement against this cheat store. This cheat store is still operating. It doesn't sell Destiny cheats anymore, but there's still just like, it's hard for me to believe. Every time this comes up, it's very strange to me, because it's like, I don't understand how you can run a commercial company selling like hacks for a game, right? Like, how do you sell cheat software for I don't even know how you would be like, how would you make a store that sells, let's say, plugins for another video game, like completely legit? Like, could you make a store that sold Skyrim levels that didn't give any money back to Bethesda? Like, how would that even be possible? I thought that in general, you could just start up a company, but
there's nothing to say you can't sell a file. The issue does come into like, okay, well, are you using code from the game? Are you using commercial code or protected code, copyrighted protected code in the thing that you're selling, right? So if you just have a website that says, hey, we got an EXE here, it looks for the game, but it doesn't use any of the assets, and it's just a little dialog box, and you hit it and it auto aims. Like, and you just say the word Call of Duty. Like, you can say you have a thing and it does a thing, and presumably when it does, I think that's your best defense against any cases of fraud. And if you're not using, I guess I don't know, you would have to, it would become a trademark thing, right? It would have to be like, you can't use the words Call of Duty on your product page, which would be tough. A tough thing to do in general.
It's very strange. Yeah. I don't understand the ins and outs of it. I mean, their website still exists. And
apparently they had $12 million lying around.
Apparently. I mean, as I understand it, like, so, sometimes we get into these like piracy / these things where people are making money on somebody else's property, and sometimes it's like, oh, we sued a guy for way more than that guy can ever earn, and sometimes it's like, oh no, this is like a tens of $1,000,000 a year operation that is able to pay out a fine. So I don't really know. I don't really understand. I mean, I'm all in favor of like shutting down cheaters because I think that they are scumbags. If you can't win for real, then like if you can only win with cheats, you didn't actually win. Like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's not like the alternative is like, oh, but it's a very like commercial way to be be famous. But goodness, no, that is that's a bad thing. You look at what is this?
What is this?
Elden Ring.
You get access to a loader / how to eject cheat tutorial and key license. So I was just like, they had Elden Ring on there, and I'm like, that's not a multiplayer thing. I guess.
Well, you've got.
Oh no! Wait, no,
because you've got online connect.
Yeah, there's dueling and stuff in there. So if you could, yeah, okay, all right, well,
and some of this just looks like man, this is gonna sound. It just looks like cheats, right? Like give me a weapon, give me like this is fine. Like it's fucking weird that you're selling it, but you probably should have put cheat codes back in your games. Sorry, I don't know why you got rid of them, but now we're having to make them ourselves.
I mean, this is a little weird with Elden Ring because like if you could just generate weapons, right?
Yeah.
Then you can like invade people's
games. The online
games
part is fucking weird.
At a really early, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, it's very strange. It's because a lot of this stuff too, but I think it's like there's some stuff in here that's like console, right? Like autosave or maximum FPS or but then there's other stuff that's like infinite arrows.
Is this one a subscription? It says 24 hours. Is this a subscription?
I think so. Wait, after purchase you will get access to loader, inject cheat tutorial and key license. See, this product works online. Bypasses EAC anti-cheat. It says 24
hours. And then there's a month option. Like like if people are fucking pay timing it, like that's even worse.
I'm sorry. Some people out there probably already know this stuff, and so it's weird that we're freaking out. But this 80 euros a month for Elden Ring cheats? I mean, I don't like to say this, Bryce. I do not like to say this, but get good, noob, okay? Like, if you got to pay $80 a month to win at Elden Ring, you should probably not play Elden Ring. Like, I'm not any good at playing online Elden Ring, so I don't do it. As opposed to...
I mean, I don't love selling software as a subscription just in general, especially for something that should be pretty one and done like this. I mean, the online element makes it weird, but like you ought to be able to do this with your games if you bought it. That's my stance on it. But boy, please don't subscribe to a cheats. That's dumb. Like, I've paid to pirate things before. I will admit that I've paid to pirate things, but not any subscription I've ever paid for was usually days long.
Yeah. Weird.
Not
very weird.
Months or weeks.
Very weird. Very weird.
Accounts. Like, oh my gosh, verified accounts.
Yeah. We're looking at Call of Duty stuff now, but again, yeah. So hey, maybe these guys got $12 million to pay.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are day, week, month, like access to, like, fuck off.
Oh, I think we're in the wrong business, Bryce. I think you and I need to get into the Romanian cheat business.
I know.
We could just give
some fucking Java.
We'll set aside 50 cents of every sale to give to Bungie when they eventually come knocking on our door. But other than that, I mean, look at it. And the strangest thing is here's the Boomer week key, 40 euros for 7 days in Modern Warfare Warzone 2, and it's literally got like a 5-star rating. They've got ratings on these things, and people are like, some of them have pretty high ratings, and it's like, I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Don't cheat in online games, and your offline games, go get Cheat Engine and cheat for free. Don't pay to cheat like this.
Don't do it. Well, speaking of cheating, some might say that this Kickstarter is cheating because in 2021, Mythic Games did a Kickstarter for Rainbow Six Siege, the board game, which I don't understand. But last week we had a story about Call of Duty, the board game. They're making everything into board games. So they've gone through and they created this this game where it's like a versus game where you play as the operators. And in 2021, their Kickstarter had a $69 base copy, nice $199 deluxe version, and a premium $269 version. But they have recently just sent out an email saying that like production costs and shipping costs and the materials cost has all skyrocketed since they originally started this up. And so their options that they're putting out there are the backers, the people who have already bought the game, can chip in more money. The company can wait for the prices of these various services and goods to come down, at which point they will finish production, or people can ask for a refund. Now, just to be clear, this is what's kind of, I think, got people's backs up a little bit about this. Backers of the $69 version are being asked to pay an additional $40. The $200 version backers are being asked to pay another $100, and the $270 version backers are being asked to pay an extra $130. Which is a bit fucking much. I mean, now on the other hand, like they put out a thing talking about how like the paper that they use has gone from $600 a ton to $1,200 a ton. They specifically say, and this is oofa doofa, the cost of labor in China where our games are produced, assembled, and shipped has doubled from $4 to $8 an hour, which I think that it's like, oh no, we can't pay Chinese people dirt poor wages to hand assemble our fucking Rainbow Six board game.
No. And also, I mean, yes, prices. When did they get this funding? 2020, 2021?
2021.
Like, yeah, I mean, it has been like high inflation, like the supply chain and all of this stuff. And also, you didn't charge people the right amount to begin with. Mm-hmm. You charged them only the retail price, mm-hmm. which you should only do when you're ready to make retail units.
Yep.
Like they knew that that this was a development thing. This would be over a year plus between funding and getting this thing done. And when you're doing that, it's your responsibility to make sure that people's pledges cover their ability to support you and the thing and beyond the thing that they're getting, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a pre-order system. It's not. And when you use it like one, then you kind of get fucked like one.
Yep.
Like what are the prices on this? Like this is a $70 game with all of this. Like I don't know how big and complicated whatever this is, but I can't imagine $70 is a lot of margin for a game with like 3D pieces and like that's not the right price to begin with.
Right. No, that's one of the big complaints, right? Is that they tried to cut the margins too close in order to succeed on the Kickstarter, and by doing that, they didn't give themselves any leeway, and so now they're back saying like, we need more, and like that's not that you don't want to have to keep asking people for more and more for more money, right? In order to just deliver on the things, because when you say you're going to deliver on the things, then you're supposed to deliver on the things.
Yeah. And look at this. This has figurines, a bunch of different dice and 3D props and stuff. The price on this wasn't right to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not surprised if Ubisoft is only tangentially involved, because Ubisoft would know how to get the right amount of fucking money for this thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, the Call of Duty one, I don't know if it's the same company. I can't remember the name of the company, but the Call of Duty one, the story was specifically that like Activision was not going to be throwing in any support. Is basically what I felt like was like they weren't going to be supporting it financially, but then on the other hand, it seemed like they weren't going to have to pony up as much for a license fee, right? So that was like the trade-off was you can do this, we're going to let you use the name, but you're going to succeed or fail on your own, and we're not going to help with any of this stuff. So but yeah, I mean, it's a complicated, this is all 3D render obviously, but this is like a complicated little board with a bunch of little guys, and you could set up barricades and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's not great.
It sucks because people, when you make an offer to people, you hope that they can, deliver, and that's a real bummer for everyone.
Yep. Let's see. Speaking of money, we got some pricing on the Asus ROG Ally, the Steam Deck competitor, this week. It's going to be more, but the question is, but it's also going to be a little bit more powerful, or actually a fair bit more powerful. So this is kind of hard because I'm not super duper into the I don't know the prices of Steam Decks off the top of my head, but what we did find out was that the higher end ROG Ally will be $700, which is the highest end Steam Deck is like $650, right? So it's going to be more than that, but it's also going to have, you know, some slightly more updated specs. The big one, I think, is the fact that it's like so the Steam Deck starts at $400, and I keep looking for, like, I found this earlier today, but I forgot. I think that the
Is it that they don't have a price for the not high end version of this thing?
I think there is I thought there was, but I could be wrong. Anyway, it's worth let's see. Leaked a screenshot.
Yeah, I mean that paragraph.
$699. $699. Okay, we don't know. We don't know at the moment is the question. So, but the more expensive one being within spitting distance of the Steam Deck means that it's probably going to be relatively close. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I wonder. It'll be. I wonder if there's enough of an audience outside of the Steam Deck, right? Because you need people who think the Steam Deck is awesome, but think it's not awesome enough that they want to buy this other thing from friggin' Asus.
I think that everything I've heard makes it sound like, I mean, I know I've seen a few YouTubers where there's like there's a real kind of hobbyist niche community that's built around just specifically like these OLED, various flavors of Android handheld, gaming devices. And so I think that I don't know, it really depends on what the cheap one sells for, because I don't get the impression that, like, I still get the impression that the Steam Deck is I mean, I know that the cheap one is within spitting distance of like a console, but like, oh my God, why would you buy a Steam Deck? I get the feeling that a normie would buy a Switch first as opposed to a Steam Deck. But
What?
No?
What?
No? Oh, okay.
What?
All right.
I
Fair
can
enough.
play my Steam games. I can play my Steam games. I mean, I think those two audiences are super different. I think the Steam Deck already is kind of an enthusiast thing, right? You like kind of want to have a PC thing, but a PC thing on the go, but you probably already have a PC library, so that means you probably already have a PC somewhere, which means you probably already had enough hardware to play all these games anyway. So then you're really just buying it for the portability. So doing the lower resolution and having some of the Steam OS stuff in it, I mean, it fits very well for that group. But yeah, I think a Steam Deck is a real good proposition, especially after like the Switch is aging. Like
that's true.
Even you get the OLED one, and it's you're paying that for what do they got in there? Is it not a Snapdragon, but they've got an old Tegra or something now.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's very true. Let's see. Speaking of handhelds, we found out that the handheld version of Marvel's Midnight Suns has been canceled. Midnight Suns will not be coming to the Switch as originally intended.
Why? What? Wow. Why?
Yep. Well,
that's crazy.
I don't know anything in particular, but if I had to make a guess, I would say that like Marvel's Midnight Suns always chugged a little bit more than I thought it should for like what it was doing graphically. Like, you've got these relatively like simplistic kind of lower resolution characters, not bad looking by any stretch of the imagination, but they weren't just like all super duper duper detailed. And I think that it might just be a thing where you couldn't get it to run well enough on the Switch. I don't know. because they basically still confirmed like it was supposed to come out on the Switch the same day because it's still not out on the PS4 or the Xbox One, and PS4 and Xbox One versions are coming out on May 11th, but the Switch version has just been like full on canceled. So
wow, and it's a bummer because it's like it's a turn-based game. You would think they would be able to turn a lot of that stuff down, but like, you know, there's a lot of particle effects. There's a lot of superhero crap when they do the combo things. They do some real quick cutting around that would look really. It would look even worse because even on the PS5, there's some pop in and stuff already.
Yep. Again,
I guess it makes sense, but damn, that stinks.
That is another game that I would probably throw in the pile of like pretty unoptimized. It's just that because it's a turn-based game, it's not a big deal that it's unoptimized because you're not doing things in real time. But yeah, not great. Let's see. We also got the news that Cyberpunk 2077 is going to start doing preview / hands-on stuff for the Phantom Liberty expansion starting in June. It's been a little while since we heard about that. That's the expansion that has Idris Elba in it. So Keanu Reeves and Idris Elba. It also represents the final update. They have said previously that once Phantom Liberty comes out, that they will be closing the book on Cyberpunk fully, and that'll be the last big update for the game.
Oh, really?
By that point, also, if I remember from previous, one of the other things that's on the roadmap before that, though, is a officially sanctioned mod front end kit. So that it seems to me like they're going to do as much fixing as they can. This is supposed to kind of close the book in adding any features that they wanted to add back in, as well as new story content and a reason to push it for one more sale. And then from that point on, I feel like it's going to go like it's going to become the officially sanctioned New Vegas, right? Where like any additional fixes, expansions, features are going to be just given to the community. Here's an official front end that you can use to plug stuff into this game. You guys do whatever you want. Be on your way. But
I think you know, we were talking earlier about the Redfall release and the kind of reality of do you delay a game to make it better? And you kind of look at Cyberpunk, and it's kind of an example that like they spent a long time working on Cyberpunk, and they're kind of just kind of limping over the finish line here a couple of years after release. You know, like there were much bigger plans for this game, right? They were going to do all the multiplayer stuff.
Yep.
And so for them, it's easier to just move on, right? It's like, hey, we polished it up. We're going to go do 2078, whatever. But otherwise, they have to move on, and so I don't know. There's a connection there between that and this.
Yeah. I personally think that because I followed this, that like we go back to the lessons that the video game industry learns, right? And like, yes, people were shitty on Twitter about Cyberpunk 2077, and yes, like every platform offered full-on refunds, but like 10% of people, maybe or less, like actually engaged with those refunds, and they made a shitload of money, and eventually the Twitter storm died down. And I take some offense to the idea that like this game is 3 years old. I'm waiting for it to be fully complete before I start messing with it. But like, you guys made a shitload of money on this broken ass game. Like, I think that I deserve 5 years worth of a No Man's Sky roadmap of continuing to add stuff and make good on things like the multiplayer. Because the thing is that like, it would be one thing if then everybody got their money back and CD Projekt Red had to take a long look at what development future is going to be like. But I already know that they're working on the next Witcher game. They're working on another spin-off game. They've got the Witcher 1 remake that's being made by a third-party studio. Like, they're still doing active development on 3 or 4 different properties. And this thing, it's like, well, we've done enough that nobody can call us villains, you know, the end. But I will still call them villains because all the fans deserve better than what we've gotten off of this game. So
yeah, I mean, I bought Cyberpunk in the launch window, and that game was truly like not in a good state, crashing failing to. By the time I did finish that game, I was still in the state where it would crash when you got to the credits, so you could never finish the game. So, yeah, kind of got bad vibes about it. I'm ready to move on, but it doesn't mean I just like trust CD Projekt Red right away.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see what the next what the sales look like on the next thing. So, let's do some movies and some games and some movies. So, our lead in
movies.
Is that because let's go back to our story of Twitter as a hellstorm, a hell site, more so now than even it used to be. Apparently, about 9 million people got to just watch the entire Super Mario Brothers movie, got uploaded to Twitter via blue check mark, and it's created a meme that was like, the tweet was, "Fuck it, the whole Super Mario Brothers movie," which has now become like a thing that's been in other places where it's like, fuck it, the entire Super Mario Bros. Movie in 25 seconds and things like this. But apparently this shit was up for like a day before it got taken down.
Oh, man, like, Twitter is,
yeah.
I am bummed that I don't want to use Twitter anymore, because I did like using it as an outlet to post stuff, but boy howdy, I'm glad I'm not spending the amount of time I used to spend on Twitter on Twitter anymore.
Yep. Let's see. After that, let's go to our next probably biggest video game movie. Bryce, something I'm sure that you are interested in. We got a full trailer for Gran Turismo. I don't think I've talked to you about this yet. What are your thoughts about the Gran Turismo movie?
It's really cool, and I think it's cool, and you can tell that the studio also thinks it's cool, because they let you know at every moment that this is based off of a real story. Mm-hmm. There really was a guy who was good enough at Gran Turismo, so they let him race some cars, and he was pretty good at that too. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert. But I dig it, like I play Gran Turismo. They should give me a fucking free ticket for this, because I feel like I needed a career mode in Gran Turismo 7, and instead they gave me a bunch of menus. So if I go to the movie theater, they better pay me, and then I get to use the movie theater menus and get some popcorn. But the trailer looks, it looks schlocky. It looks good schlocky.
It looks like some dumbass fun. It looks like it's so cheesy with this, I've raced this track a million times, and like, what you sending me a bunch of kids, they don't know how to race, and then like, I'm gonna whip you teenagers into shape. You threw up on my grass like I'm David Harbour. Just Orlando Bloom is running around in here.
It's the perfect genre for this too, because it's exactly right. These guys just play on the sim and don't play on a wheel all day, but you actually don't have the weight and the heat of an actual car under you. Yep. And they make a good point in the trailer. When you crash in the game, you can hit restart.
Right.
But this is a car. I think it's cool. I'm into it. Yeah.
I've been trying to catch. I was trying to see if I could see it anywhere in the trailer, but I was looking up the people that are in this movie, and we got David Harbour, got Orlando Bloom, a bunch of young people that I don't know who the hell they are. Maybe they're famous for something. I don't know. I'm old. That one dude from Guardians of the Galaxy that I really like. Also, Jerry Halliwell is in this movie, a.k.a. Ginger Spice, is somewhere in here, and I keep looking through this trailer.
That's her.
Was that her?
Do you know why?
Why?
That was her. She's the mom, because she, in real life, that's her, is married to Christian Horner, who is the team principal of the F1 team for Red Bull. And so she shows up in the Netflix show a bunch. She's like, yeah. So she's kind of inspired casting on that.
Okay. Well, this I don't know. I personally, I think that this is interesting, because we've had video games where it's like, well, we're just going to directly adapt the movie into a video game. And we've had video game movies where it's like, we're going to take everything about the video game that nobody cares about, throw away all the stuff that people do care about, and make that into a movie. But this is the first time I feel like I've seen like, I guess the Tetris movie had a lot of people playing Tetris. It was about people playing the game Tetris. And the Gran Turismo movie is about people playing the game Gran Turismo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Because it's not like we're talking about, going into Race Island. And
Right.
going between the auto shop and your garage. Like, no, this is a kid playing the video game Gran Turismo 7.
Yeah. I wonder if how awesome would it be if there's a line in this movie where the main character complains about how he just has to race the same track over and over again because Sony won't put in more tracks.
Oh my God. I would.
Bryce's favorite movie of all time.
I would happily pay for the ticket to that movie. I would pay for a ticket to watch that movie.
It's just 2 hours of complaining about Gran Turismo. Yeah, I don't know. I might actually, probably not going to actually break down to go watch this in the theater, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. I probably will though sit on my couch and watch Twisted Metal, at least 1 or 2 episodes of it, and we got a teaser for Twisted Metal with Anthony Mackie. There's not a lot going on here. It's Anthony Mackie driving a car, loading a shotgun, and then we get a real brief Sweet Tooth cameo at the end. We see a car with a bunch of machine guns on the front of it. Anthony Mackie's talking to the camera. They're playing "Steal My Sunshine" by Len. I do like that. I do like when they play "Steal My Sunshine." That's a good song.
Is Anthony Mackie a badass? Because he's trying to act like a badass, but I don't feel like he's a badass.
Is he not a badass? I don't know.
I don't.
He's Captain America now, right? Like, that's pretty badass.
I don't know. It's not. It's one of the lesser badass superheroes IMO. I don't know. He look at him. He looks like he should be at the what is that outdoorsy place? He looks like he should
Cabela's?
be at no
REI?
REI, the bougie one. Yeah, he looks like he should be at REI.
I don't know.
Look at him. He's like trying to do a Saturday Night Live version of Will Smith a little bit, like watching this on mute. Like, "Steal My Sunshine's great, but if you turn this on mute, Miami starts to play."
So here's the thing, Bryce. I have more faith that this might not be the world's greatest shit show than I did for like the Crackle version of Dead Rising or whatever it was. Like, you remember that the Dead Rising show that was on Crackle for a little while?
No.
Oh, you don't know about that one? Okay, never mind. Let's not go too far down that road. Mostly because this is weird to me, and I don't really like saying it out loud because it makes me feel gross inside. I've really been enjoying a lot of the original stuff that Peacock has been putting out. I've really been enjoying Peacock as like a streaming platform way more than like Hulu or Netflix or stuff. Like, I watched like a few episodes of that Mrs. Davis show, and it was like weird and interesting, and I liked how much of a budget it had, where it was like a nun versus a globe controlling AI, but not like an evil one. Like, it's just like everybody has a Siri that in their ear all the time that has the voice of Mrs. Davis, and it wants this nun to go find the Holy Grail, and Damon Lindelof is writing it, and you're just like, what is this? What the fuck am I watching here?
It sounded like you were describing Eagle Eye for a second, but then it got all Damon Lindelof-y.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I've really been enjoying the Peacock stuff because I like it when they do weird stuff. And also, like, that's where Cocaine Bear showed up, and like Mithrigan.
Cocaine Bear is.
But you got also
okay.
you got the gentle art of Swedish death cleaning. I don't know what that is, but like, I could be interested in knowing what that is. They have Resident Alien is on there, and like Poker Face, and I've just been liking the stuff that's been on there. So I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, they seem to be doing something interesting over there with Peacock. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd give it a try. I don't know. We do Cord Killers.
Or I could just, I just go listen to "Steal My Sunshine" a few times.
You can steal my sunshine.
We also, I got no trailers for this, but Vampire Survivors is getting an animated series from one of the John Wick creators. Created this thing called Story Kitchen, which is co-founded by Derek Kolstad and then producer Dimitri M. Johnson, who was on Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's possible that this might rule because Vampire Survivors is such a blank canvas that you could literally do if you just gave it to somebody. And it's also not a big enough property that I feel like they would be really precious with making sure that like we got to have the right name attached to this. Like I really just want these crazy weirdos to give this crazy weirdo game to some crazy weirdo writers who give it to some crazy weirdo animators, and they would come out with some bullshit on the other side where we're just like, awesome, yes, thank you.
Yeah. It's like kind of the perfect game to blow up because what story is there? There's like the character profiles on the page or the places you go. I guess they have added more stages, but like there's not a lot there other than I don't know, these guys are hunting vampires, but then also there aren't any vampires in the game.
Correct. Yes. I got far enough in it. I kind of got a bee in my bonnet when the DLC came out that I went back and like started looking up how to unlock certain things, and there's a little bit more implied story than maybe it seems like, but there's not really like there's no point where the game stops to explain anything to you. You just have to kind of make some. It's a real vibes game, you know, as opposed to
it's tactile,
right?
Like it's all about the gameplay.
Yeah. So yeah, I have high hopes. I mean, like, you know, reasonable high hopes, not like fucking Vampire Survivors is going to be the best thing I've ever seen. Woo! Like, but like, you know. There's a chance. You have a nominal amount of hopes. Yes. From there, we got some more trailers. Speaking of movie stuff, we got a bunch of new Star Wars stuff in Fortnite. We got the Padme and Darth Maul and the sexy Hayden Christensen. Everybody apparently on the internet now has decided that Episode 3 Hayden Christensen was really sexy. But what's kind of cool is that
He had that hair.
They've done this new thing where you can find like Darth Maul or Obi-Wan on the map, and then if you find them, they'll give you a lightsaber and force powers that you can use against other people, which is pretty fun. Yeah. I gotta congratulate Fortnite for just like, you guys just keep doing stuff and like nobody's stopping you apparently. Like you just keep on going. And
like what's crazy about this is not the fact that like the trailer we're showing is we're seeing is like just all the Fortnite stuff, or is all just the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah,
but it doesn't take into account that there's going to be fucking 10 Gokus over here.
Right,
you got Naruto on this side.
Yep,
and then you got like
a Master Chief is over there, and then Batman comes in, and yep.
Thanos is doing the gritty.
Yep,
he's literally doing the gritty.
Yep. So, let's see. We also got in other kind of comic booky news, the full DLC trailer for Storm coming to Midnight Suns, Bloodstorm, which was pretty cool. I liked it because they took the Hunter out of all of this, so it was just Storm, Ileana, and Wolverine for most of the cutscenes, which makes sense. Oh. And then apparently, I didn't know this, Bryce, but so we had Deadpool, Morbius, Storm, and who's the fourth one? Oh boy, who was it? I don't remember.
Oh goodness. Vision?
No.
I don't.
Hold on. It was season pass details. Venom was the fourth one. Yeah. And apparently if you when you hook all these DLCs up and you play through all the way to the end of the Storm one with the other ones, it unlocks like a finale chapter. Like this was one story thread that like goes through and ends with this particular chapter, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's clever. I'm glad that this game is like getting all that stuff. Like, and to hear that makes me consider this DLC stuff. Like, I never consider DLC. There's usually never ever a reason for me to love a game so much I would buy an expansion for it. But having each of these be their own campaign and then you add them all up and you get a little like that's cool. That's what fucking Marvel stuff it is. That's Marvel smiles. Marvel smiles.
And that's coming out May 11th. So what is it by the time you hear this? It'll be next week. Right before the day before Tears of the Kingdom. So good on you, Midnight Suns. Bad on you, Forspoken. We got a trailer for the first DLC for Forspoken. In Tanta We Trust. It's mostly just kind of like a combat montage with this new lady that's... It's interesting that in Forspoken, this very character-driven game, this whole DLC seems to focus around this new lady. A lot of this trailer is just a lot more sparkles and lighting effects and particle effects, and it all just still looks like garbage to me. It just looks like messy and it's like you're trying to wow me by jingling keys in my face, and it just... I don't know. I mean, obviously, this is the problem, right? Is when companies make, like, they sell a game that has a deluxe edition that's going to have DLC, and then even if you don't really want to, you're still going to have to make the DLC for it.
Yeah, like that's a bummer, because I had heard that Forspoken was that there were some okay things about in it, you know, some redeemable parts, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But when you have a game that launches like this, where you know there's going to be a roadmap of development, whether it's DLC or expansions, like it takes a lot of the wind out of the sails for what the original game was, if that game is not super well received, for what the DLC will be, and for what all that time of that roadmap could have been spent on doing these things before the game came out and maybe making it better received.
Yep. I agree. And now to completely and totally destroy my gamer cred with about 5 people that are listening who are gritting their teeth in anger hearing me shit on Forspoken. Now let me change gears and say good things about Saints Row from last year, which I thoroughly and completely enjoyed, and we got a trailer for the first expansion for it, Sunshine Springs, which is adding a whole kind of Hollywood themed like a movie studio and some kind of like apartments, then some big lush mansions. There's not any gameplay, but they just did a little kind of a teaser. And this is coming with a huge patch that's going to be revamping a bunch of gameplay stuff and adding some new stuff to the game. Just like I did this year with Dead Island 2, I thoroughly enjoyed Saints Row as a fun, dumb game that you could just play while you're listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos, and it doesn't require your attention. And you can also, though, make your pistols into boxing gloves that you can punch out the cops with like boxing glove pistols, or throw a bomb on a civilian and shoot them into orbit. Or when you fast travel to any location, you can just fast travel in your wingsuit and then fly down to wherever the location is. It's just a big dumb fun time, and I liked it quite a bit. So
yeah, I would like to give that another look, Saints Row, especially if hearing that they're gonna, I don't know, maybe change things up or make improvements. Yeah,
I read through the patch list for it, and it had things like making the enemies do less damage, making them call for reinforcements less quickly, basically giving the player more edge to kind of just have a big, dumb, chaotic, fun, violent time, as opposed to having to hunker down behind cover and regenerate your health. It was just this is Saints Row, man. I just want to throw grenades and stuff. So we also got a really brief teaser. A lot of DLC this week. Got a really brief teaser for the first teaser or first trailer or DLC for Atomic Heart, which is this kind of weird... This is very little, but it's like these weird kind of floating platforms with this spaghetti road going between them.
What if we took our Battle Arena DLC, all right, but we made it spaghetti, and then we okay, this literally. I mean, I don't know what this is, but it definitely looks like a bunch of domes that you could do some battles in. So fucking a lot of domes.
What's really weird, right, is the fact that Atomic Heart, before it came out, all of their trailers were about huge bombastic action and showing you crazy stuff, and this is just a slow pan up through some spaghetti domes. The end.
Spaghetti dome.
Corduroy.
Maybe that's what they'll call it.
Corduroy cylinders. Got all these corduroy cylinders. So,
yeah. It's not even the most. Is it an ADA thing? Never mind. Sorry.
Sorry, cutting a whole bunch of stuff because we're almost done. I watched through 10 whole minutes of Amnesia: The Bunker.
Why?
Well, because I've always wanted to like Amnesia, in spite of the fact that I've always disliked Amnesia as a franchise. But this one, you've got a gun. So I was like, okay. There is.
They get you in this game. Sorry, we're looking at gameplay footage.
So
they got you like right away too. Like not even. Okay, sorry.
No, that's all right. It's all right. I liked a lot of the stuff I saw in here. It's basically you're stuck in this kind of World War I bunker, and then you can't get out, and there's like a monster in here with you. One of the things they showed that I really liked was this gameplay sequence starts with the character gassing up a generator with fuel that they have. You see them pick up these jerry cans throughout the level. But I really like this little detail where they pull out like a little watch when they turn on the power and synchronize their watch to how much time is left on this little fuel gauge, so that you can check your watch when you're out exploring the world to see how much time with light you have left, because the monster won't come into the light. So.
Oh, okay, that's clever.
Yep.
That's a neat way to do it. So it's not all just matches and lanterns.
There was also one other thing. Let me see if I can find it, because this is 10 minutes long, that I really, really liked, where the player goes to a this is them finding stuff in a locker. They find a wooden door that's closed. Is this it? Mm-hmm. No. I might have passed it already.
Do they smash it open? Do they shoot through it?
Oh, no, here it is.
Bang.
They find a wooden door that's closed. It's closed and locked, and then they just grab a giant cinder block and they throw it at the door until the door breaks and opens. And I'm like, yes, thank you. There are other ways to get through doors than finding the fucking rooster key, all right? Like, than playing Beethoven's Fifth on the piano to open the door to the basement. Just fucking kick it in. You're a cop, Chris. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it makes, that was a rickety looking door.
Yeah.
That didn't look like a standard. It looked like one of the break. But yeah, okay, sure. They should have that. Because then it takes you, they had to throw it a couple of times. It's probably loud.
They also have a really interesting thing. They've got this light where it's got a pull cord, so it charges with this little pull cord that turns it on. Like, I don't know if it's got like a little magnet battery or something in it, but it doesn't stay on for very long, and it makes a bunch of noise when you do it. So there's obviously going to become a thing for monsters. I think that your hand is your health, because there's a bunch of different points where the character's left hand is just hovering on one side of the screen. So I think the more injured you are, the more bloody your hand is when you look at it. I don't know. I like what I'm seeing here. Like the last Amnesia game, I probably should have given a little bit more time, because that was like the adventure in the desert one. Also, there's rats.
Yeah.
There's rats and torches and stuff. Anyway, it's a pretty good little demo. Bryce, you should come over. You should come over and play the most.
Are those demonic rats? Do they have fucking sigils and shit burned on them?
They've got something. There's something is wrong with these rats. So here, let's see if we can find out. They've got like
look at them. They're like zombie rats.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like a zombie game.
And also, there's some kind of crazy monster chasing you around the entire time, where the character keeps hearing groans and screams and stuff around every corner.
It was Hitler.
It was Hitler.
I know, it's World War I.
It's World War I.
It was Franz Ferdinand.
Let's see. And then finally, we got a couple of quick things here. We got a gameplay reveal for a game called Chrono Odyssey. I actually cut a lot of other stuff this week, but I wanted to leave this in here because as we were talking before about games looking good and running well, one of the reasons that I think that's a challenge right now is the fact that we're still using Unreal Engine 4. This looks like a relatively generic online action MMO. I do like some of the art style stuff that they've got going on with it, but the big thing is that it's running on Unreal Engine 5, and it looks like it's running well on Unreal Engine 5. Which I'm happy, because I really want developers to start getting Unreal Engine 5 out. As I mentioned somewhere, I talk about it all the time, same thing all the time. Fortnite added Unreal Engine 5 support, and it runs at 4K 60 frames per second with ray tracing turned on. And I'm like, is that what we need to finally make this like the standard for this generation? No more picking and choosing, just like, yes, it's got full ray tracing, it's got full 60 frames per second support. And it's running at a native 4K resolution. If we need to switch to Unreal Engine 5, please, every developer, stop what you're doing and go get a copy of UE5, because I want this generation to start looking as good as some of these UE5 games look. Now, this is a really generic MMO, but I do, like I said, I do like some of the art style that they've gotten here. But
yeah, it looks nice. You know, I mean, we're still. Yeah, I guess it looks. I don't know. Like Unreal Engine 5 looks very nice. We need multiple engines that are optimized and work. I don't know. I don't want to give too much spice to any one engine, especially when it's Epic.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything specifically wrong with Epic, but just specifically nobody wants a monopoly of engines, right?
I mean, I don't know. Unreal Engine already is pretty monopolistic. Like, you've got Frostbite, you've got some of the other competitors that have their own in-house engines, but most of the time these days, I feel like I don't know. I get what you're coming from, though. Is the best way to keep this stuff from happening is for it not to happen in the first place, instead of having to pry like an industry stranglehold out of Epic's hands once they've already captured 90% of the engine market, and then we're all just like, what do we do now? Type of thing.
Yeah. It's like at some point we'll be at a point where, especially as tech advances, that there will be an OBS version of Unreal Engine,
right?
If there isn't already, something open source, and also, hey, it looks good, and the Blender version of UE5 or whatever.
Yep. Still though, I think this looks good. Like, I think it's like an interesting looking game. Nice. I don't know. I like all the weird. The weird art design choices, and then last on the trailer front, we got a reveal trailer for Shadow Man, Legacy, Darkway Legacy. Yeah, they're making a new Shadow Man game.
Wow.
I don't know who, but did you play Shadow Man? Any of the previous Shadow Mans?
No, but I've watched. Would I watch a speed run or maybe a let's play of it or something? Like it was of its time.
Mm-hmm.
Being a voodoo guy.
Yep.
Doing voodoo stuff in a voodoo swamp.
Voodoo. And this one's it seems like a Cajun, has I don't know. There's it kind of pans across a desk with a lot of different stuff. They did say, the main character's name is Jack Boniface. Bonyface? Is it Jack Bonyface? Is his face? Is he his skull?
Shadowman was a product of the '90s. It did start off as a comic book.
See, that's the thing, is I read the comic. Like, I read the comic when it was being released. That's how I know Shadow Man. But yep.
Yeah. Okay.
New Shadow Man game coming soon. It's gonna have RPG light elements to it. So there you go. Oh, Blowfish Studios. Who the fuck is... I was looking for that before. Who is Blowfish Studios? Games. Nope. Never heard of it. Oh, no. Katie and Meow Meow Land. Sure. I mean, obviously the...
Oh, yeah. Of course. Do they make it... Are these Chinese market games? Why have I not heard of fucking any of
PlayStation 4? What is Obey Me is on
Element
2020 War Tech Fighters.
Affliction?
Storm
Boy. What are any the Deer God?
I think I've heard of the Deer God. Yes, I think I've heard of the Deer God. Wow, look at all these games.
Oh, wow, okay.
Crazy.
Some early iPhone. Oh, okay. Good job buying that IP for $1,000, apparently.
I want to play Katie and Meow Meow Land. What's going on with Katie Katie and Meow Meow Land?
Isn't it Caddy? Oh, but it's only one T. Yeah, that's a PS5 Okay. Oh, okay.
Is this right below what Pat the Badger or whatever on my PlayStation 5 store?
Jumping Quesadilla Turbo.
Meow Meow Land.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
These look like a real game. Okay. We don't need to get into that.
Okay. Starship Troopers Extermination is entering Steam Early Access this month, May 17th. This is the next attempt to try to monetize Starship Troopers, a famously disastrous series that has never really had a super good video game adaptation. This comes, I believe, 1 year after the the real RTS Starship Troopers game that came out that I played that nobody knows even fucking existed. But this one is supposed to be a first-person squad-based game where you and people will build commands and then defend them from a bunch of debuggos.
Why? Do you think? Okay, do you think I didn't bring this up during the Redfall thing, but do you think there was a moment of that was like, okay, well, this is Arcane Austin kind of working outside of their element and doing something a little differently, and I wondered very loudly in my head if Arcane going into okay, well, we're gonna do this multiplayer game and it's gonna be a shooter like this, and we've got to figure out this online and multiplayer element that's a new thing compared to how it had been in Dishonored or Deathloop and all of that. The idea of biting off more than they can chew.
Right.
Do you think? And I sniffed that in this fucking Starship. Oh, it's going to be a first-person co-op. It'll be co-op and early access, and it should just is it biting off too much to keep doing even multiplayer services, let alone live services, battle passes, and for some of these studios?
I don't. I'm not entirely sure. I keep asking myself the question of I think that the reason that Starship Troopers, the movie, is interesting is because of the characters of Johnny Rico and Dizzy and fucking Michael Ironside and those characters not shooting the bugs. It's this thing I keep coming back to where it's they keep trying to make Alien games, and it's the reason that the Alien movies work is because we care about Ripley. It's not because aliens get blowed up. That's thrilling, but we care because Ripley is blowing up the aliens to save Newt at the end of the day. So if you give me an Alien game where you've just got no characters, or this Starship Troopers thing, right? You put me in a Starship Troopers and it's just a bunch of ding-dongs that I randomly got matched with on Steam that don't want to work together and don't have their mics turned on, or always have their mics turned on where their mom yells at them in the background. I don't want to do that. That's not the thrilling sci-fi story I want to play. I don't really care about how many bugs me and my friends can shoot, because that was never the best part of Starship Troopers. The part that was good was Casper Van Diem being a big lunkhead meat man.
Maybe the pitch on all this stuff is hey, we'll make it a multiplayer game, so we don't need too much story, and there's probably not too much chance of damaging the brand if we fuck up this thing, because it's not even a real thing. They can ignore it if it's not good. I mean, we'll make it. It's just free money for you, but it won't even be maybe that's even a part of how some of this IP stuff comes about. Is just pitch them on not a telling of the classic, because if it would be cool to have a Starship Troopers game maybe based off of the movie or some events of a narrative nature, a single player story campaign. I don't.
You'd have to,
but now I'm getting hypothetical.
The other problem with that, of course, is that you'd have to give it to somebody that's good at doing that, not
that's good at doing that.
Off-World Industries, who made Squad, and it's Squad. Okay. Or
Squad.
The Canadian Armed Forces DLC for Squad. For Squad?
Squad.
Yes, for Squad.
Squad.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I think that a lot of times they don't understand how Call of Duty, Destiny, things like this. Some of the games can get by without having a story about characters that you care about, but I think there's a lot of modern storytelling in both games and movies and a lot of stuff. Redfall is go back to Redfall. Redfall is a good example, right? Because they have 4 main characters with different power sets, they have to write a story that can work for any of the 4 characters. So it can't have anything to do with the characters. All 4 characters have the exact same goal, save fucking Sundown Springs or whatever the fuck it's called from the Vampire Menace, right? So one of the reasons that we care about Kratos in God of War is because Kratos has a story arc where he's got his son, he's trying to learn how to be a father, but he's this relentless killing machine. There's character development there. There's no character development for like the Afro lady in Redfall, because her story has to be able to drop into the same generic overstory for the other characters. You know, on the other
Watch
hand,
Dogs Legion problem. Like, it was the same thing for fucking Watch Dogs Legion. You had to make every person playable, so nobody is a character other than the fucking lady in your ear or the robot.
Which to me is a really weird thing, because when you look at like what the last thing that Arcane Austin did, because Arcane Leon did Deathloop and Youngblood, but like, and Dishonored 2, the last thing that Arcane Austin did was Prey. And the thing is that the character work in Prey was a lot of what I feel people remember for Prey, because Prey starts that game and it asks you like, okay, here's the trolley problem. What would you choose? And then you play a 14-hour video game that at the end says, okay, now that you've gotten to know every single person, now that you've really got to intimately know the person on the other track who you're going to move the trolley to, do you still want to kill that person with the trolley? Like it's a really beautiful and elegant thing. And then to just have their next game be this like drop in, drop out, generic, like yellow guy, orange guy, blue guy, purple lady, like Left 4 Dead clone is really disappointing. It's more disappointing than it would be if it was. It's more disappointing than the Starship Troopers Extermination game will be when it eventually comes out. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
No,
there,
you know, like the feeling, the reason we keep seeing Left 4 Dead clones is because we're chasing that feeling from Left 4 Dead and from when it was this cultural zeitgeist moment, and that moment is past, right? The modality that we were playing that game in is not universally appealing, even though we want the feeling of either working together or working in a small group, and so capturing that feeling, you have to do it differently, and we've seen Back 4 Blood try to build on top of that idea, but maybe the way to capture that is to do something different. I would love to play a Left 4 Dead or a Back 4 Blood that is designed as a single player game, so I can get into it as a single player game, even if it is a repeatable game, a roguelike game, something like I don't like multiplayer services. I don't love live service stuff, just like generally. And it was a bummer, like to play Back 4 Blood, and even doing it as a solo player. You know, you're dealing with AI, but it's not great AI, and it's not the experience that I want. And I don't want to buy into your multiplayer game. I don't want to buy into your live service game.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I keep forgetting. I just was spending a lot of time lauding praise on Dead Island 2, and Dead Island 2 is totally set up to be able to play as a 4-player co-op game, but it's also a first-person melee zombie thing that is like I said this when Redfall was originally announced, and it goes for a lot of the other games, is that they want to have their cake and eat it too. And the problem is that like building a single-player experience is one discipline, and building a multiplayer experience is a separate discipline. And they will keep trying to merge the two of them together so they can basically double their profits by having something that sells as well as a AAA first-person single-player game, or a AAA single-player game, but also has the ability to be a continuous live service like Destiny at the same time. But every time they do that, they come out with the exact same lie. And that lie is that, like, yeah, you could play it single player and it's just as fun as if you play it with your friends. And it never is, because I've played Destiny as a single player game and it's not very good. I'd rather play a game that was built for me to play by myself than play this game that was obviously meant to be played with other people, but by myself. Same with Redfall, same with Back 4 Blood. I agree with you. I would love to play a single player. I thought the Back 4 Blood universe was interesting, and I would have loved to have played a game where it's just visceral zombie murder, but tuned so that I could do it by myself and that I didn't feel like I was missing something. Like, if I'm ever playing a game that you say I can play a single player and I walk up to a door that won't open unless you have somebody else with you, like, go to hell. Anyway, sorry.
And like, you can't make a game like that without having to make a multiplayer or an online service element, because why would you ever fucking make Call of Duty and not make an online portion for it? That's the business wise, that doesn't make any sense, despite the fact that those are two, like you said, totally different experiences. Yeah. So I don't know. Good. Best of luck to Starship Troopers: Extermination Early Access. Yeah, it seems a good bet on that one.
Let's see. We got to finish.
Please.
Spider-Man Remastered is going to be a standalone game on the PlayStation Store this month. That's just a heads up for anybody.
Did they say
$50?
What? Fuck you. No, it's not. What?
If you don't have any of the previous things, if you just have a PlayStation 5 and you don't own Spider-Man Miles Morales, or any of the other versions, the PS4 versions, or any of the other stuff, it used to be that when you bought it, you had to buy the PS4 version with the upgrade. Now you can buy it as a standalone for $50. I don't know.
$50 doesn't make me feel good just because the full price was fucking $70. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah.
Miles Morales is an old game at this point. Sorry. Yeah.
Planet of Lana got a release date of this month. This is coming out on May 23rd. This was announced at an indie thing a little while back, and it's like a very kind of, it's like a girl and her cat. It's got big kind of inside / limbo-y vibes of kind of a 2D side-scrolling thing where you've got a little girl and her cat, and then there's a world that seems like it's been overrun with like robots of some sort, and they're kind of having to go through the game to adventure their way to safety or something like that. Good graphics, interesting presentation. Apparently it's first unveiled 2 years ago at E3, and now it's got a release date. It's May 23rd. So
neat. That looks neat.
Also on Game Pass. So,
well, then give it a try.
Let's see. This was really weird. I didn't know this happened, Bryce. Fantavision, the PS2 version of Fantavision came out on Steam last week. Like
an updated version.
An updated version. That's true. Yes. Fantavision 2020X. I remember reading this and I was like, wow, that's a name I haven't heard in a fucking dog. This is a launch game for the PS2.
Yeah. When was the last time you played Fantavision, Jeff?
When the PS2 launched. Like literally
I played
the day it launched.
I think I played it 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
It's on the PlayStation. It's on the PlayStation Plus thing, and so you can download it. Because they've got I think it's the, like when they went and made the PS4 versions of PS2 games, just the emulated ones. So they have that up there, but not this like fully remastered thing.
Whoa, and it's got VR. Whoa! Look at that. You can do it in VR. Fantavision. Want to watch some fireworks? We should probably explain to people who don't know. It's like a puzzle game where you're chaining together fireworks into big old
fireworks. It's a Space Invader video puzzle game.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yep. Let's see. Wow, $30 though. Whew, that's.
You get a VR mode, Jeff.
I don't have a PC VR headset. Let's see. There's a Tomb Raider collection of the two top-down. This is Guardian of Light and the Temple of Osiris. Was supposed to be coming out and then got delayed until 2022 and then got delayed until 2023. Just a heads up, everyone, the ESRB has rated that collection, which means that it's probably going to be coming out very soon because that usually happens right before the games fully release. So... the Citizen Sleeper team has a new game in development. Citizen Sleeper is another game we haven't shown on RageSelect because it's a whole shitload of talking, but everybody says that it is badass and awesome.
Yeah, I hear it's very cool. It is wishlisted on one of my things.
There you go.
Because it's kind of like Disco Elysium-y. It's like a very text-based story-based game, dice rolling-based game, but it's science fiction-y.
Yeah, it's got an interesting mechanic where you're playing as like an android that's kind of shutting down, and you're kind of living on the ragged edge. And so, depending on your status, you roll a bunch of dice at the beginning of the day, and then you get to assign each dice to a different task. And the higher the dice, the better you'll do at that task. And then there's like bonuses and stuff. But yeah, apparently there's another. That same team with the same character artist and composer are working on a brand new game. They're going to say more in the near future. They're currently there's a big celebration going on for Citizen Sleeper right now. It's anniversary, so probably hear more about that once it's done. Probably in June or one of those times. we don't have to talk about this. There's a cool game that has embroidered characters, but anyway, let's just finish this up. A few quick mods. I got some mods. Sorry.
Mod me up.
Scarlet
Mod me
Darian. First, one of the worst Zelda games of all time has been remade for the Game Boy. This is the Philips CDI, the third in the Philips CDI Zelda trilogy. You know, the one with the really crazy animated cutscenes. Have you ever seen the animated cutscenes of CDI Game Boy?
I've seen the
Zelda?
Cartoon. I've seen the dinner. Like I've seen the cartoon.
Right.
The cartoon animated ones. Yeah.
But this is the actual game, is what it looked like in between the
that one on the left?
cutscenes. This.
Oh, fuck off! Oh, Christ!
It looked terrible.
I did not know that.
And so some people took.
That's not Link. That's a fucking
It's
Enderman's
Zelda.
kid. Who the fuck is that?
No, it's Zelda. The third one was you played as Zelda.
No, that's fucking Charlie from a Christmas Story. Come on. Sorry.
But they remade it as a GBA game using like sprites from a few of the different GBA things. Not
That's
just
cute.
that, but you can play it. It actually works as a GBA. Like if you have a modded cartridge, you can play it on a GBA or a GBA or a Game Boy or Game Boy Advance.
A Game Boy.
Yes, GB.
Yeah. GB.
So yeah,
Wow. That's cool. That's fun.
It's a fun thing to do.
That's fun.
Yep. Second, we've got an interesting mod that somebody made for Doom 3 called Doom 3 BFG Edition with it's called the Runner mod, and it basically just turns everything in the game up. Like it makes it faster, it makes the enemies faster, it makes your shots hit harder, so that it plays less creeping through hallways and more like Doom Eternal, where you're just again like running and blasting, and apparently enemies will revive, and so it's got some kind of health system.
Was that a considerable issue with Doom 3 when it launched? The fact that it being slower?
Yes.
It was slower.
Yes,
it was a big deal.
It was Doom 3 originally. What you're seeing here, this is what people know of Doom.
This looks like fucking Quake.
Right. Yeah. But like Doom 3 was very much like kind of walking down a hallway slowly, waiting for monsters to jump out of the shadows type of thing. It had action. It wasn't like this. It wasn't like super high frame rate, mouse aim, twitching around, blasting on everything stuff. So
that's neat. I'm surprised it took so long to do something like that.
Oh, there's been so many mods, but this one's cool because this one also has something where if you just put your gun away, like if you put out your hands, you'll regenerate health. And so it's kind of like an interesting trade-off of like you can get health back whenever you want to, but you have to be unarmed
but you have to pray to Jesus Christ.
Right, exactly. And last but not least, I managed to shove some AI in here somewhere. Somebody made this is a really early thing, and I wish that you could hear this because it's fucking terrifying, where basically like you can start conversations with Skyrim characters, and the Skyrim characters will feed parameters into ChatGPT, get the response from ChatGPT, and then feed that into one of the AI voice modules to then talk to say the things that they got out of ChatGPT to you. Now it works.
Wow,
it's very.
Is it good?
No,
you can hear it. I can hear it. Is it? Oh, okay.
No. It's here's the thing. It's like it's early fucking days, right? So they don't talk right. It's just feeding direct text directly into an AI generator, so they don't pause in the right place. They will run on sentences that go over each other. There's also a huge lags that will happen where you say something where you input and then it has to go through the process of getting it and bringing it back and rendering it. But I personally think that this is a really like this is a Kotaku article is talking about how like, oh yeah, anybody that thinks that ChatGPT can replace writers or AI voices can replace actors, show them this video and ask them if they want to live in that future. But like, this is the first pass in a mod, man. Like,
right.
I honestly think this is legit as a tech pipeline. It just needs to be like a game needs to be built from the ground up to be able to take advantage of it, right?
Yeah, right. Like you absolutely like it's I don't know. You'll see some things like this, but you'll also just see like now your games are just going to have much longer scripts. We'll have more barks because they could just churn them out. It's not like you're going to open up Far Cry 7 and the game is procedurally generating you missions. It's just they had a guy do that 2,000 times and then they put it in the game.
Right. I see. The thing is
that any different? Is that any different?
I would just settle for something that just gave that just generated new small combat barks, so that you didn't hear he's over there, he's over there, he's over there. He's not you're playing a game where you don't have a lot of those and you hear the same input over and over again. I would just be fine if we started by saying some NPC background conversations, maybe some barks for combat. Let's start there and see if we can make that work. I don't need it to just be and then you just type in whatever you want. You get whatever game. You're I want Zelda in Call of Duty. And it's there you go. But I think that this tech could be used to make things, more interesting. More interesting.
Yeah. I mean, certainly it will be easier to, come up with more barks,
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat.
And
wow.
That's it.
Woo. That's it.
We did it.
That's all.
That was it.
That's all it was.
Just one little podcast. How hard is that?
Podcast and a half.
Bryce, tell the fine people of the internet where they can find you when you're not helping me go through the news.
Of course, you can find me over at marbles.win. That's where my Marbles Racing League is, LFG Marbles. We just started Season 6 this week. We are on at Thursday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Time at the U.S. On Twitch. Twitch.tv/Night Attack is where that's at. But marbles.win is the website. You can find that. You can find all your stats and the schedule and all of that stuff. I'm not really on social media anymore. We talked about that a little bit before. But check out the Marbles stuff because that's the thing I'm working on right now. It's going to be a good season. We've implemented pay-to-win mechanics, Jeff.
Oh, shit.
That's right.
Loot boxes coming to Marvel's League.
Loot boxes.
Oh,
okay.
No. Oh,
anyway,
no.
Marbles.win.
AI barks and loot boxes. Just get on the hype train.
Need a loot box over here.
Yes, check it out. And I don't know if you feel like you like this podcast. Maybe you want to go to patreon.com/RageSelect. Maybe you want to help us out.
Maybe.
The Patreon.
What do you win now? Could I get 1,000 bonus videos if I did that, Jeff?
Yes, you could get too many bonus videos to even count. I'm not even sure how many there are anymore. I know that there are enough bonus videos that if I stopped recording RageSelect right now, I would have at least... Last time I checked was a long time ago, but if I stopped recording RageSelect today and I just started posting the Patreon bonus videos that we have at patreon.com/RageSelect, I believe I wouldn't have to record a new video for a year and a half. So something like
all your timely references will need to be GPT'd into more contemporary jokes, though.
That's what I'm going to spend the year and a half to. Is I'm just going to build an AI Jeff, and then I'm just going to walk away and let the whole system run itself.
Yeah. You're playing Gears of War 2 while talking about the writer's strike from this. Well, no, because that timeline doesn't. Okay.
I mean, it's got to be pretty easy to train an AI. I repeat myself every single week, 4 times. I'm always talking about the same things. And then, if you can't think of anything, ChatGPT, just Taco Bell and Dark Souls. You'll probably be fine. No one will be able to tell the difference. Anyway, that's it. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.